are live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 99 of the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. We are glad to be live again. We're a little bit under the weather or rough, maybe's, Mick.
Just busy. Just everything happened at once just then.
or tired. But we're all good. We'll make it through. We'll make it through. But this week, of course, we have the year in review for PlayStation. Of course, we've give Xbox the good old rattling last week. We give them a good rinsing down and talking about what they need to do better, what they've done good, what they've done bad, and what needs to improve going forwards. Of course, PlayStation's turn this week. And then, of course, lovely next week, we have, not only do we have our charity drive for the entirety of the week, but that also coincides with episode 100 of the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. And I'm happy to say today, of course, that one of our special guests next week will be King David, who's been pretty much, should we say, a staple of some of our biggest episodes so far, but also always there to help us celebrate, whether that be year-end podcasts or birthdays or anything like that for the show. So it's going to be great to have King David back on again, and he was more than happy to be here. So that should be awesome. But I hope everybody in the chat is awesome this evening. Of course, please make sure to share this out if you can, because I know YouTube can be a bit of a funny bugger at times. But let's get into our intros. We'll go top to bottom first. General C, how are you doing today, sir? What you been up to?
Hello. Not too bad, not too bad. Finally completed God of War, and now I'm chipping away at 100% in that. Also played a little bit of Lego Star Wars yesterday and a little bit of Spider-Man Miles Morales, which is really good. So yeah, but yeah, I put all those back on hold because I'm kind of still addicted to God of War. So I'm gonna 100% that because I bloody love that game.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. And of course, we've three of us on here have completely finished that now. So we'll be able to have a little bit of a chinwag about it. We'll keep it spoiler free, of course, but we'll have a chinwag about it, and discuss what we love about that game now that we've all finished it. And me and Jen are both simultaneously trying to platinum it side by side.
We were in a party chat yesterday on PlayStation, just chipping away at it.
Yeah, slowly but surely. And yeah, for the first time, Jen experienced what it was like to use the built-in microphone and speaker on his DualSense.
Ever on a PlayStation. I've never used party chat ever on a PlayStation. So, yeah.
Will you use it again?
It's not too bad, to be honest, but it's just weird and different. Like the microphone for the PlayStation 5 controller is literally in the controller. So to get used to that was a bit weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you said I sounded different. I was like, I probably will do coming out of a speaker the size of your fingernail. But yeah, no, that was awesome. Mick, how you been, sir? I know we didn't have Sea of Tuesday yesterday because it was your lad's birthday, and he was having a good old piss up.
Oh, that got messy. Yeah, there was people puking up in the toilet all night, and
lovely.
people had to be taxied home because they weren't safe to go on their own. Kids, honestly.
Oh, to be young again, Mick. Oh, to be young again.
Nah, screw that. I was never like that. And to be fair with my lad, he was exactly like I was on my 18th, looking after everybody else.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, to be fair on him, he can hold his own, and he was looking after the lot of them. So I just kind of hovered around, shook my head disapprovingly, doing the dad thing, and just walked away, left them to it for the most part. So yeah, but yeah.
You managed to get any gaming in?
Got a bit. I managed to play a bit of Halo with Chris on and off in between getting summoned away to come and sort somebody else out. So yeah, I managed to play a bit of Halo co-op with Chris. But that was about it, really.
Yeah. So a bit of a not quiet one, but in gaming wise, quiet.
No. Yeah. So apologies to everyone for Sea of Tuesdays last night. it wasn't even going to be a thing. Like I was saying to you guys, it was just one of those. He was just having a couple of friends around, literally like 2 friends plus his girlfriend,
Yeah.
and that was it. And they were going to be outside having a fire, and we got like a fire pit thing, and
Yeah.
they were going to be sat out there having a few drinks. And then the second they rocked up with like 1 bottle of Jack Daniel's Tennessee honey,
Yeah.
1 bottle of not Kraken, some rum, some dark rum,
Yeah.
another bottle of some strawberry daiquiri or something,
Nice.
and I was like, oh, this isn't going to go well.
It's a good mix. It's definitely a good mix. Strawberry daiquiri and whiskey.
Yeah, no, not for me. So anyway, yeah. So apologies to everyone for that. It kind of got out of hand quite quickly. Oh, and then all the family turned up as well, which nobody'd said they were going to.
Yeah.
They just decided they'd just pop round, and then they ended up staying for ages. So
and drinking.
Yeah, and drinking. Yeah. Speaking of which, I just had quick thank you to Vin for my my beers. So this is the first one. So here's to last night.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
No, it's to it being over.
Yeah. Yeah, at least that's the big one. That's the big one anyway. Yeah. You can go clubbing next year.
Yeah, you can get out the house and do it.
Awesome stuff. And we'll get back to Boxy shortly. He's just had to step away for a moment, but yeah, I've been much on the same as Jen, to be honest. I haven't touched much else. In fact, pretty much little else. It's either been all on at work, coming home, and then when I have had the energy to do something, because obviously I've been under the weather, just had God of War on, because it's a nice, easy, hit a few things, get some of the collectibles in, and chip away at that 100% completion. You just love it, and the story just keeps getting better. Like, the more you find, and then all these little side quests, and then side quests link to the main story, and they kind of evolve the main story even more. It's just...
And then you find this one huge location that you told me about that I never even knew was in the game, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And I'm like, where does this end? Vanaheim is huge.
Yeah. The Vanaheim crater.
But it's so worth it though.
Yeah.
Because you got all these little favors, and each one of them adds to the story of what's happened in this particular part of Vanaheim, and it's just such a cool area. And then there's obviously this similarity in Midgard with the lightning bolt that's frozen in place.
Yeah.
And you find out answers as to why there's a lightning bolt exactly like that in Vanaheim, but I won't go into details on that. But yeah, do the favors in that area. It's worth
Absolutely
it.
Worth
the
it.
story just it's so enriching when everything all comes together, and you recall specific moments in previous parts of the game.
Yeah. It's super detailed. There's such a big area. I'm glad. Like I said, I was just telling you, I was like, you need to go here, you need to do this, and then you got there and you were like, Jesus Christ, this thing just keeps getting bigger.
I got there after pain and suffering, fighting 2 berserkers that it was awful.
I spent PTSD
7 or 8 hours trying to beat these. This is within 2 days. So trying to beat these damn 2 berserkers, and I eventually did it. And then I just saved the game. I turned the game off, and I sat there in silence for about 2 minutes. I was like, finally, they're done. And I just walked away from gaming for a little bit.
Yeah, I can completely understand that.
They were brutal. I hate those berserkers. Just them 2 in particular. They can get in the bin. I never want to fight them again.
I'm looking forward to getting rid of them. I still haven't went back and sorted them. I'm finishing it. The last things I'm doing are the berserkers and the Valkyrie Queen, and then that's it.
So the thing is, it bugged for me, and that's the reason why I was so persistent as I was going to beat them, is because the gate in the area, it wouldn't let me fast travel to it. So I was like, if I come down off this mountain, I'm not going to be able to fast travel to it. It must be some sort of bug in that area. It just wasn't showing up.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's no way I'm climbing down this mountain to climb all the way back up and fight them again. So I was like, they're dying. No matter how long it takes, they're dying.
Yeah, definitely. Before we continue this God of War kind of mini dive, Boxy, how are you doing today, sir? What you been up to? What you been playing?
Yeah, feeling a little under the weather, honestly.
Yeah.
So if I have to turn off the mic occasionally, it's because I have a cough and actually a little headache, so not feeling too well. But I didn't want to miss the show where I get to roast Sony. So
Yeah.
after giving Xbox a fair amount of criticism last week, sorry, I had to make it to today's show. So I'm excited to give my spiel on PlayStation and Sony this year. But other than that, yeah, man, I also finished God of War.
Yeah.
Amazing experience. Easily my game of the year. Fantastic game. From start to finish, I loved it. They improved upon almost everything that made the first game great. The combat feels just on point, heavy, brutal, yet diverse. The environments and level design is also very diverse and a lot of different biomes. Great usage of colors, and the art style just shines.
Yeah.
The story is fantastic. The writing is excellent. So yeah, man. But other than that, I have also finished Gotham Knights after finishing
Nice.
God of War. I went back to Gotham Knights and finished that.
Good, isn't it?
Also, I'm very happy that I did not listen to the negativity on social, because it is a fun game. Cheers! I have tea, like
So good.
camel tea. So yeah, but I'm really glad I didn't listen to the negativity. Yes, 30 FPS suck, and you have to get used to it. Because lately we've all been playing the games at 60.
Yeah.
You gotta get used to it. But it's just a fun game. The combat is good. It's different than in the Arkham games. Don't expect an Arkham combat style. It's different, but it's good. It's fun. Changing up the characters is awesome. They all play differently. I ended up loving Red Hood. I started out with Nightwing, loved Batgirl for a while, but then Red Hood just took it away. Fantastic character. The writing is good. The story is really exciting. Some cool twists. The ending, Batman fans are gonna love the ending. Yeah. So overall, I had a blast, and I'm glad I did not listen to all those saying, don't play the game or just shit on the game. It's fun. It's a fun game.
I agree.
So I
I'm probably
finished
gonna
that.
pick it up soon.
I agree.
Yeah. Thanks,
Yep.
man.
Totally enjoyed it myself. Got all the way through. Enjoyed the ending. I like the combat. I actually prefer it
Yeah.
in some cases. I mean, when you go
Right.
back to playing the Arkham games, kind of holds your hand quite a lot. This one doesn't. It kind of makes you fight, makes you actually sort of look where the attacks are coming from, rather than just waiting for that thing over your head to go. Spidey senses,
Yeah.
you know, press the Y
Yeah.
button. You know, it kind of makes you pay attention to what they're doing
Yeah.
and when they're coming at you. And once you like you said, once you try and get out of the habit of it being Arkham,
Yeah.
and play it for what it is, actually gets really good. So yeah,
It is.
I'm,
Yeah.
I'm glad you did it, mate. And I'm looking forward now to like you say, 30 frames is it does take a bit. It's
Yeah.
not a bad 30 frames. I'll give it that.
No,
But
it's playable. It's
I'm
playable.
looking
Yeah.
forward to, which is bound to happen eventually, a 60 frames mode. And I've
Mhm.
completed the story, but I've left everything else. So when the 60 frames mode comes, I got stuff to go back to.
Nice.
True that. Although I don't expect a 60 FPS patch anytime soon. If you look
Not in a
at
rush.
that's good, because you're gonna wait for a while. I think if you look at the studio with Batman Origins as a background, and how Warner Brothers treated all. Oh, who's there? And if you look at how they treated the Arkham games, none of them got an FPS boost. Arkham City still runs like crap on PC. They are not really good at supporting post-launch, honestly. So I wouldn't place a bet on that game getting a 60 FPS mode. So yeah, but after finishing that, I also started Pentiment.
Okay.
I'm only about an hour in. I'm gonna give it another hour, but I have the feeling it's not for me.
Was this Pentiment? Sorry.
Yeah, Pentiment.
It wasn't for
I
me.
appreciate what they're trying to do, but honestly, I could also read a book. I don't have to have a controller in my hand for that. I get the writing is good, and like I said, I'm gonna give it another hour or so, one other session. But so far, it didn't click with me. But that's fine. Not every game is for every gamer. And I appreciate what they tried to do with it. So that's that. And then, of course, Dutch, H4.
I was waiting.
Never end.
You know,
it wouldn't
coming.
have been.
It's like having been on, you know, Sonic's coming at some point. You get Boxy on here. At some point, it's going to turn to Age. And you get me on.
Listen,
at some point, it's going to turn to Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
It's just what it is, right? It's just what it is. It's our guilty pleasure, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Nope.
So, yeah.
I need to get back to
season
my
3.
guilty pleasure. Hunt Showdown. I ain't touched it in weeks.
Yeah, you'll get there.
There you go. We all have those guilty pleasures. Yeah, season 3 is kicking in my ass, dude. It's like a lot of people figured out new strategies to play, new, like new build orders and everything, and they really learned to make use of what the new maps have to offer. So I've been struggling, man. I was like I was this close to getting to my all-time goal and target, reaching platinum rank. Was really like this close. One more win and I would have made it. And then a really poor losing streak started for me. Like I lost, I don't know, 5-10 matches in a row, and I dropped down actually to gold tier 2. And not just the very top of gold tier 2, so more or less on the bottom of gold tier 2, close to gold tier 1. I was like, okay, I got to get back to the drawing board. I got to re-watch some of the pros and figure out what they do with new strategies and new build orders. And I figured out a new fantastic build order for the English. Castle Rush with English. Everyone has been playing it over the last 2 seasons. So I like make longbows very early and try to overwhelm your opponent early in the game. And now I figured out a great build order, and it works. Honestly, like Castle Rush with English is fantastic. And I'm back at gold tier 3. Like I need 2 more wins, and I'm gonna reach platinum. So that's the target for the weekend.
Look at the excitement. Look at the excitement.
That's why Age is so great. The community playing it, and guys, the servers are still full. Tons of people are playing that in all ranks. Like literally, it doesn't matter how good you are. The servers are full. People love the game, and of course, depending on whether you're in bronze tier or silver tier or gold tier, you have different strategy. Like in gold 3, every second counts, dude. One misclick and you're out. You'll lose the match. But the great thing is people always adapt new strategies. Like the French were very, very popular early in season 2. Early Night Rush was the way to go. People figured out how to counter that with every Civ, so that strategy didn't work anymore. And so, like, it's in every season the same, and that's why I love the game. You always have to adapt and figure out new strategies, and it's just awesome. It's just awesome.
It is, and seeing your enthusiasm for it continue to stay exactly the same is also awesome, Boxy. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. I do need to get back onto it at some point as well, to be fair. I do miss Age. It's just so much.
Yeah,
to
man,
play.
we need to team up. Let's play a little matches together in co-op against the AI. I'll teach you some build orders and strategies.
Yes.
And then we're gonna play. They have now introduced with season 2 ranked team matches.
Ah, nice.
So that's really awesome. And we gotta play that, man. We have
Definitely.
to play that.
Definitely. Quick shout out to 2 awesome channel members. A new channel member, Dave Ramos, joins the Shield Wall. So welcome to the membership.
Shout out to Dave. He's
Thanks, Dave.
awesome.
Yeah, awesome as always, and obviously great podcasting with you the other day as well. Great stuff. And of course, Marion the Mad, 14-month membership there on the Shield Wall, says, "Love you, breathtaking people. Wouldn't be the same without Marion calling people breathtaking. Of course, we expect it at this point, Marion, so thank you." Awesome stuff. Thank you again to everyone for the support, all of our channel members, all of our Patreons, and everyone that joined us on chat. Absolutely awesome. Yes, today's episode, of course, giving PlayStation the good old shakedown. The good, the bad, the ugly, and what they need to improve going forwards. It's been a better year on the games for Sony this year, but everything else has not. It's the consistency. This is what we spoke about with Xbox. They have the consistency with game releases. They have the consistency with putting content out, good content. There's always something great to enjoy for a PlayStation fan, specifically for first-party games. There's always great content there. The issue comes with everything else. We will dive into it. I want to kind of summarize. Let's have a think about the games specifically that come out this year for PlayStation. So, of course, most recently, Game of the Year contender God of War Ragnarok, which just released, of course, last month. And then you had Horizon Forbidden West as well this month. Stray as a second party also released this year. And I'm sure there was something else. What else?
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Ghostwire Tokyo, of course.
Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yeah.
The Last of Us remake. Did you mention that?
Yes, that's the one. Last of Us remake
Yes.
part for 44 million. Remaster, remake. Super
I can't
edition.
wait till it gets remade again.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's more. They have released a number of good games to keep people going, of course.
Gran Turismo, was that this
Gran
year?
Turismo was this year. You are correct. Yes. Thank you. Yes, GT7 also released this year. So you had racing games, you had action-adventure games, you had cat games. Yeah. You had a
They
good
did
little...
put a lot of
good little mix.
their games on PC this year as well.
Yeah, good ship over. God of War hit PC. Days Gone hit PC. The Last of Us remake, has that hit PC?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
That has yet. Spider-Man.
Uncharted has.
It was announced that it was coming to PC, but
The
it's not there yet.
It was Uncharted that I was thinking of. The Uncharted collections hit PC.
Legacy Collection, was
Yeah.
it, that came to PC? Or...
That's the one.
Oh, I can't
Yeah,
remember.
Nathan Drake collection or
It's one
something.
of them.
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales, yeah,
Yeah.
that hit
And
PC.
the Spider-Man 2016, well, they're technically the remaster.
Yeah. So if you're a PC fan, you're getting a lot of PlayStation, of course, albeit in last year's or the year before's PlayStation games, but you're getting them. They're now, so if that was your preferred place to play, then of course now you've been playing them. But we can't shirk the fact that they did release at least 2 major games for themselves this year in both Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok. The controversial kind of release around Gran Turismo 7, which both hit and miss with fans for a number of reasons. So yeah, a lot to play, plenty of awesome gaming for them. But then we've also been blighted by console increases for everywhere outside of the US. So all of Europe, the UK, Australia, Asia, everybody got a price increase on the console. Of course, they brought in the first wave of game increases to $70. They scrapped PlayStation Plus and then renamed it with 3 tiers, which also brought about PlayStation Stars and the controversy around the 4th level of PlayStation Stars, which if you spend enough money and play enough games, then you get priority customer service. And then, of course, on top of that, we've had the ongoing saga of the ActiBliz takeover. And unfortunately, they haven't been the best of people in the public eye. If even when you're comparing it against Steam and Nintendo and Take-Two and EA and every one of the big bosses at every other major company had absolutely zero issue with this going forward. Unfortunately, Sony have been extremely outspoken and starting to cause a few issues for themselves, I think, from people looking from the outside in. Fans included, their own fans, industry experts, governments, you name it. I don't think it's doing them any favors, put it that way. But I want to start with the bads of the year. Actually, we'll cycle it a bit this time. We'll start with the bads and we'll go to the goods later. Mick, as being not primarily a PlayStation player, but you do have an awesome PC, and any PlayStation games you want to play, you get them on there. From the outside looking in, what is it about PlayStation in 2022 that's been particularly bad for yourself that you think's kind of put a dampener on the year for them?
I mean, things like not having their games day and date like Xbox do. I probably would have played God of War Ragnarok had it been out on PC. They don't want to do that, which is fine. It's up to them.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that, by the time it comes around, it's a bit like, I mean, just looking at my library now, I have God of War and I have, what's the other one I've got? Horizon Zero Dawn from PlayStation. But because they were already long, they'd been out for a while.
Yeah.
I didn't feel the need to buy them as soon as they came on PC, so I'm quite happy to wait for them to go in a sale, and it'll be the same with Ragnarok, because by the time that comes out on PC, the hype will have died down. There is no FOMO. I've already missed the launch window, so I might as well just wait a bit longer and get it cheaper. Whereas if it had come out on day and date with all you guys playing it, I'd have probably bought it.
Yeah.
So
I honestly think it will come to PC sooner than you
well,
think.
I think it'll be
Sooner
within
than you think.
within 9 months.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this launch window thing for PC games is definitely getting shorter.
Yeah.
But unless it's day and date, it's not really. I'm not really in a rush. I'd have it when it was big and everyone's talking about it.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I'm quite able to just
Save
myself some money.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree with you on that as well. I understand they're thinking about not putting it in day and date on PlayStation Plus. Yeah, we can kind of agree to disagree on that one, but PC and PlayStation at the same time, they're an entirely different demographic. Like, the vast majority who have really good enough PCs to play these games in the first place, which is actually very few and far between. I think Sony seem to think that everyone has these monster PCs to play games that are going to somehow take away from their own platform. The demographic on PC is entirely different to the demographic on console. There's a whole reason why people get gaming consoles in the first place, and that's to chill out on the sofa and play in front of your telly in the relaxation of your own living room. PC gaming's an entirely different experience. Like, you were literally sitting at a desk in a chair.
The same thing with Xbox.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got this PC. A lot of these games I could play them on the PC.
Yeah.
But I don't, because even though I can still put it on the OLED through the PC, I don't do it because it means turning it on and loading it up, and and by the time I've done that, I could have just flipped the Xbox on and I'm playing it. The quick resume's on and I'm in.
Yeah.
So And even if it was exactly the same speed, I still don't think I'd start the PC up first because it's just easier to pick the controller up and just press the button and it comes on.
Yeah, well, not only that as well. If you wanted to play on a DualSense on your PC, you can because they do allow that.
I haven't tried that yet. I
Have you
should.
not? It's actually.
I do have the other advantage I have,
Yeah.
which probably should really go underneath the pros section, is that I get to use my Xbox controller.
Yes.
I really don't like the PlayStation controller.
Yeah.
Oh, that
There's
was
some
funny. You
bits that
playing Death Stranding on Game Pass with an Xbox
Yeah.
controller.
Yeah, with the proper icons as well. You know what I mean? It's just crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. A quick shout as well to stuff Sean. He's saying worst thing about PS this year for him is Jim Ryan's petulance. It's an insight into how superiority complex can come crashing down around you when you realise you have at least some flaws. Yeah. And I don't. Sometimes it feels like Sony don't like to have their flaws identified. Or highlighted.
Oh yeah, they usually have a
Yeah.
good piece of
Understatement.
news to go up against a bad piece of news, so people like quickly forget the bad news.
Yeah, they usually do that.
I had another game actually, which was Stray.
Yeah.
Forgot about that, which I enjoyed. I think that did actually come out.
It came out on
Like you
PC,
say,
that one, yeah,
It
straight
did.
away.
So there you go. So I bought it day one. Yeah.
And that was because it was second party. If that was first party, it wouldn't have been. That was
Exactly.
yeah. But I don't understand. I seriously don't understand their reluctance to do PC and PlayStation day and date. I think it'll only benefit them in terms of actual revenue splits.
It will.
If you have a look at
'Cause
Xbox, the way they do it, if you have a look at even games that are multi-plat that release on PC and console, it doesn't hurt anyone's sales. Like no one's just jumping from one area to the other. If anything, what you tend to find is if someone really loves the game, they'll probably get it on the PlayStation and the PC, just because they love the game.
Mhm.
I mean, if they put 2 sets of achievements on any game I like, I'll buy it twice.
Yep.
I mean, happily, because if it's something like, I don't want to say the S word because I'll set.
I'm already thinking that. So I was going to say it myself.
I'll use something else, but like when they did the 360 version and then there was an Xbox One version, it was like, oh, there's a new set of achievements. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'll do it all again.
Yeah.
And I did. And then when they updated it to the newest version, you know, like the next gen version, I thought we're gonna get achievements. I'll do it again. No, we didn't.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I'm all right then. I'll leave it.
I was gonna say, like,
although I did start it and play it for quite a while, but I just didn't feel the urge to finish it.
the strangest thing
Yeah,
about PlayStation.
I'm that sucker that's bought Skyrim on almost every platform it's available on.
The strangest
Yeah,
thing
I
about
was-
PlayStation at the moment with regards to trophies is that the PS4 and the PS5 version of the same game have two separate trophy lists. Same trophies, but you can play the PlayStation 4, get all the trophies, and the PlayStation 5 ones don't unlock.
I find that funny when I go to view your trophy list on PlayStation. It says I haven't played the game yet.
Yeah.
But you're playing the PlayStation 4 version,
Yeah.
and I'm playing the PS5 version. But I've not
Three
played the game.
separate trophy lists. It
apparently.
makes no sense. But hey ho, it means that when I get a PlayStation 5, I'm going to play that game again. Woohoo! New trophies. Same game twice. 2 platinums.
I'm not gonna platinum it on PS4. I don't own a PS4 anymore, so
Yeah.
fuck those berserkers.
Yeah, just install the PlayStation 4 version. You have the cross-gen version of the game, don't you?
True, yeah. I could, but I'm not going through that pain again.
Oh dear
Once
me.
is enough.
But yeah, Mick, what else, other than obviously that? What else has been kind of bad for you this year for PS?
Like chat said, it's to be fair, the thing that gets me not upset, but just makes me cringe is the whole Jim Ryan flying around trying to break this deal up, and his arguments being just everything that they do and have been doing for the last 10, 15 years, probably longer,
Yeah.
are all the things they're complaining about that Xbox might do if they get Call of Duty. And you're like, it's worse. It's like the kettle calling the pot black. But only tenfold. It's like, are you not seen what you've been doing?
And
One of the
do,
main
and
they'll
are
brush
doing.
they'll brush it under the rug. It's like, nope, we won't mention that.
Well, one of the main reasons I switched to Xbox was I was tired of all of the sort of stuff that was going on with them, sort of like money hatting all the stuff.
Mm.
I was like, oh, this is crap. I can't be bothered with this. I'm just not interested.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's just the way that a lot of it is just so hypocritical, and it makes you wonder: do they know they're being hypocritical, but they've got to say it to try and get somewhere, or are they genuinely that ignorant?
They're probably that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's ignorance because they're at the top of the food chain in gaming, basically.
Yeah, no. So that's the worst thing for me. It's just it's laughable.
Yeah.
Sooner it's over, the better.
Yeah. The hypocrisy.
And the better I hope it passes, because like a lot of people have said, if this falls through, Microsoft have got to pay a few billion back to Activision because it all falls through. They've still got 60 odd billion to spend already assigned to Xbox. There's
They'll go on a
that
shopping
money is
spree.
just going to go into just doing what. So you've literally said, right, we're not allowed to buy and do what we want the way that we should do it and be good to these companies, because a lot of them Activision wants to be bought.
Yep.
So it's like that, and they're pro union. They're allowing them to do all this union stuff and all the rest of it. And it's just like, all right, if you're not going to let us do it, fair enough. We will just go in and get exclusive rights for everything. How much have we got in the bank? How much have we got left in the bank? 65 billion. Yeah.
See, the thing is,
into that for the next 10 years. That should keep us going.
Yeah.
And
the thing is, the most
exclusive
important
rights to
thing that
everything.
people forget is it's not about Sony being like the way they are. If Sony actually sat down and thought about it, it's better for the Activision deal to go through for job security, for the people working at the companies,
for the health,
not for
the mental health.
Sony's special privilege to keep Call of Duty and the advertising rights for Call of Duty where it is. It's not that. It's the fact that this deal needs to go through for people's job security. If it doesn't, Activision is going to be diced up and sold individually off to different companies.
Yeah.
And then what happens to the development teams then? They go to shit. They're forced to
Tencent are in the
look for new jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tencent and Embracer just can't wait.
That is more important, and Sony need to pull their heads out of their ass and realize that.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't matter, really.
Yeah.
It's not that important for Sony to keep the special privilege of having exclusive Call of Duty content and having the advertising rights for Call of Duty for themselves. They need to pull the stick out of their butt and realize the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really.
I mean, you make a lot of sense. The thing is, I think this deal is heavily overrated at all.
Yeah.
Because like for gamers, what is going to change once that deal closes?
Nothing immediately.
Think about this really hard. There's really not much changing. We are getting Call of Duty and Game Pass every year, and that's it. That's what for us core gamers this deal means. It's not like with Bethesda we got like tons of games, like a shitload of games are coming every year because of Bethesda. But with that deal, if we are honest, there's really not much coming for us, at least for the hardcore gamers, So for Sony to aggressively trying to block that deal, it really brings up the question: what are they really afraid of losing? They are not. They know that they don't lose Call of Duty per se. They know that. That's not what they do or what they are concerned of. Are they really afraid that Microsoft is gonna get a proper foothold in mobile? I don't know, maybe a little, but it really brings up the question: what is Sony so afraid of? And I have no answer to that question. It's an open question. I've been asking myself this for a long time, ever since we discussed this, because for gamers, not really is much is gonna change. You get a Call of Duty every year. You get like a Diablo every 12 to 15 years. Yeah,
I think
and
what
that's it.
Sony are afraid of the most is the fact that they have no real FPS shooter to compete with Call of Duty. They have Destiny now. They own
Destiny.
Bungie, but they've not really, at the moment, as far as we know, got any FPS game in the works. They might do, but they've got nothing really other than Destiny, and that's multi-platform.
But
and
they are
will
not going
stay
to lose.
multi-platform.
Yeah.
Again, they are not going to lose Call of Duty. They know that. They
Yeah,
really
but
do
a
know.
lot of it comes down to the advertising side of that.
Oh,
the fact
absolutely.
that
Sure.
they push the advertising rights, and a lot of people are synonymous in thinking that Call of Duty only comes out on PlayStation because of that advertising.
I had
The
this
general
one thing the
consumer
other.
goes into a store or watches an advert for Call of Duty on TV and it says PlayStation.
Yeah. I
And
had this
people
one
go,
thing
"Oh,
in
it's
work.
only on PlayStation."
This one thing in
People
work
don't
the
read
other
the
day,
small
actually.
print.
I was going to say I couldn't quite remember which game it was, but there was someone in work and they mentioned some game or something like that, and they were like, "Oh, and PlayStation, blah 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 blah," and then this game, and I was like, "Well, that game's on Xbox and PC." They're like, "It's on Xbox as well." I was like, "Yeah." Like, I thought it was just PlayStation. I was like, "No." It's like, well, yeah, but everywhere you see it, it just shows as PlayStation. I was like, yeah, but that's
That's the
because that's
power
how
of
they
advertising.
advertise
That is the
things.
power
I
of
was like, it's
advertising.
actually on Xbox. He was like, really? I was like, yep. He was like, eh, I didn't realize that. Of course you didn't, because PlayStation's adverts literally just say only on PlayStation.
Exclusive.
Yeah.
And then it'll put DLC.
Yeah.
Content.
Yeah.
You
Only
know.
on
That's
PlayStation.
what Sony are mostly afraid of, in my opinion, because they've not really got their own first-person shooter game. Well, they do, but they
Yeah.
just don't make them anymore.
Yeah.
And they might own Bungie, but as far as we know from that deal, Bungie are allowed to do whatever they want. They're running as if they're independent still.
Yeah. Boxy, I want to get into you.
Yeah.
So you've heard the kind of breakdown. You've heard the breakdown basically of what I think has been bad overall in general, in kind of short, abbreviated terms. But what to you has been Sony's worst points this year? What has been the really bad stuff from you?
Okay, so I mean, you started your intro, your little mini rant on Sony,
Yeah.
with a perfect summary. Everything outside of the games that they actually release, and we get to those in a second, because after all, we all do this for games. We want to play great games. That's literally the most important thing, and that's where they excel each and every year. So, but we will get to that in a second. See, the thing is with Sony lately, like everything feels like a ripoff to me.
Yeah.
I always feel like, am I really getting the value worth the money I spent? It doesn't matter whether we talk about game prices. They were one of the first to increase those. They started the generation because they had like the confidence, the audacity to, hey, next gen techs for you guys. And Xbox hold on off for a long time, and we're going to talk about that extensively on the World of Gaming tomorrow. But Sony were one of the first. Then you have like their PS Plus subscription service. It's beyond me how you can actually start a subscription service and then literally downplaying the service. Like the day they announced that, they said, we are not going to bring games day and date because that will reduce the quality of the games. Yeah, we wouldn't be a subscription services are still bad, but please subscribe to us. Please subscribe to us. Pay more for the subscription service than on Xbox, even though you get less, because we don't believe in subscription services. That's their messaging. Like literally, what the hell? What's going on? They used to be so spot on. When you remember the PS4 days, their messaging was always fantastic, spot on. They talked to the gamer. They made you like excited for what's coming down the line, and that's the next thing. I'll get to that in a second. But then let's stay on the on the price thing. Then they have the audacity to increase the console price, literally like everywhere outside of the US, of course, because the US is the only market where they have like real competition. Everywhere else, they are basically a monopoly. They are sold here in Germany 5-1 Xbox. That's to me like you have when we don't count the Switch and PC. If we look at the two mature console owners, they have like 80% market share. 80+% market share. So yeah, that's close to a monopoly. So they can do whatever they want, and they let that know you these days. The price for the PSVR 2, I'm not getting that at day one. Definitely not. Like that's my biggest problem. Everything feels like a ripoff. Then you release like a Gran Turismo, filled with microtransactions and everything. It just you can't have a Sony discussion this year outside of the actual games that came out that doesn't involve Sony looking greedy. And that's really one of my main issues with Sony right now. Like I feel always kind of ripped off. Last of Us, the remaster of the remaster, like literally.
The remaster.
It's getting ridiculous for full price, with less content than the original game had.
And there's supposed to be a Horizon, what was it, Zero Dawn remake in the works?
And I wouldn't put it past them for that actually be true either.
Yeah, there was just a rumor.
In thingy again. They're probably working on another remaster for Last of Us already.
There you go.
For the PS6.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one thing that bothers me with Sony these days. And I'm not just saying that because I love to hate on on PlayStation. So before people call me a fanboy, listen to what I had to say about Xbox last week on the show. But it just feels to me this generation, Sony is greedy. Everything that they do screams greed. Give me more money. We are giving you less value for more money that you have to pay. That's what is their key messaging. Speaking about messaging, like I said, during the PS4 generation, their messaging was spot on. Like they laid out, when was it was that amazing E3, 2014 or 2014 or 15, something like that. They laid out basically the rest of the generation: Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, Days Gone, Death Stranding, all these announcements. And you had that roadmap right in front of you. You knew, okay, if I'm going to invest in PlayStation 4, I'm going to get these absolute blockbuster games. Eventually down the line, Spider-Man. I'm going to get an amazing Insomniac Spider-Man game. I'm going to get... all these highlights of Sony last gen, Uncharted, Last of Us 2, like literally, bam, there it is. 3 years out, 4 years out, but they laid out the roadmap. They spoke to the gamer. Here's why you should invest in the console. And what have they done this year? They had one state of play where they showed off Hogwarts Legacy, and that's it. Third-party game. Still coming to Xbox and PC, guys. Okay. So no messaging that speaks to me as a gamer.
Boxy, that was the game. That was the game that people thought was PlayStation exclusive at work. Hogwarts.
There you go. Yeah. Like, if they do it, they still got it down. They know how to do things. It's really where Xbox can learn. But they just didn't care. They didn't show up to any of the gaming events. No Gamescom.
Well, they did. They showed up to Jeff Keighley's Summer Game Fest to show Last of Us remake.
Yeah, well, okay. They had a trailer there. But that's it. Like, literally, no Gamescom presence, no... what's the English version of it? That
State of Play.
That conference, that in-person conference.
Oh, it was I know which one. The old what was it called?
God, I'm blanking on the name. It doesn't matter. Tokyo Game Show, their homeland, gets an amazing games event, and they don't bother to show up. They had nothing in terms of excitement for the brand. What is coming? We get like Spider-Man 2 maybe next year, and then in 25 or 26 we get Wolverine, and that's it. That's literally all we know. they bought studios left and right. I think it's 7 or
we
8.
can't forget Last of Us Factions.
Yeah,
It was supposed to come with Last of Us 2.
yeah, they're standalone multiplayer now. They're
Yeah.
selling you that at full
Separate.
price again.
Full price.
Just making my point. Yeah.
Dang it.
So there you
I'm
go.
being sarcastic, that's all.
There's no excitement around the brand. They even announced like PSVR 2. Everything around PSVR 2 was announced through blog posts.
Yeah.
That's it. They did nothing else.
It was the same with God of
No
War's release.
hands-on events.
God of War's release was
Yeah.
exactly the same. Blog post. Like, what are you
Blog
doing?
post. There you go.
Your biggest game of the year. Blog post. What are you doing?
No dedicated state of play. No nothing. That's what they used to be so good at. They obviously have to save marketing budget. Obviously. So, but that's a big minus to me because like I think every gamer, we are like little kids, like little children that want to get excited. That's why I love watching a Gamescom and an E3 and all these other game shows. Yeah,
That's
I
why
love the
stay
Game
up till
Awards.
silly
I don't
o'clock
watch-
in the morning for E3 when
Yeah.
all the shows are on. And
I used to do that too when they had like the real E3
The real
where they
E3,
had
yeah, it was
all
awesome.
the
Interviews and things
it
all
started
night
like
long.
5 p.m.
Yeah.
It went till 4 a.m. in the morning. I stayed up late. I got excited for the Bethesda conference and the Ubisoft conference and then the Nintendo and then the Sony conference
And
you were
PC
just like,
showcase and
yeah, that's we had those in a row. Yeah,
Yes,
like
those days.
I love that excitement around. Like, why did we get so excited before the Xbox and Bethesda showcase this year? Yeah, because there's always this excitement in the air that to see new trailers, to get hype for games that might not come for years. That's okay. That's totally okay. Yeah.
yeah.
But you get like that. Look, that's looking insane. A Hellblade 2, mind blowing.
Fable.
Okay, 3 years out, but we have that excitement now in us. I'm like that, and I bet like everyone here on the panel and probably
that's
everyone in
why
the
I was
chat.
so disappointed with Xbox's show this year because they didn't set up
Sure.
the future. They didn't set up the future.
Nothing. Exactly.
So I
Like,
was disappointed.
That's,
I was
That's the
off the
point.
seat when they announced Fable, just like bam, out
Yeah.
the seat,
Yeah.
like
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
that's why I'm so excited for the Game Awards. I don't care about the shitty award ceremony itself from Jeff Keighley. I'm excited for the trailers. I want to see Jedi Survivor. We're gonna see that finally. I'm super pumped for hopefully Avowed or Fable or something from Xbox. I'm gonna hopefully see Dragon Age. It looks like it's coming as well. Like that's what I'm excited. That's getting me hyped, yeah. And they had nothing burger this year. No hype, no excitement, no nothing.
Yeah.
So bad minus on that point.
Yeah, see, I jokingly called this months ago. It must have been shortly after the Xbox June event. I said, what if Sony doesn't have an event this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a joke, and it was right.
Yeah. They went through the entire year without telling the fans why to buy the console. You literally just don't know. They're living off of the pedigree from the PS4 era. And it showed this year on top of all the price things. And then the acquisitions. You mentioned Activision Blizzard. I mean, like, literally, I haven't seen a shit show in between two companies like that in public. I bet those
while.
things happen all the time, not just in the gaming industry, but in general during
Like
acquisitions.
Sega and Nintendo back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That were console wars, dude. That was console war.
Yeah.
Like, not the kindergarten from the Twitter guys these days. That was true console wars. Companies fighting to get their competitor out of the market.
Yeah.
Yeah. And literally, Sega didn't survive that. That's just what happened. Yeah. But they must know how bad they look in public when they bring it to the public. Like, I get that they're gonna fight each other over billion-dollar businesses. I get that, but you do that in court. You do that in the conference rooms with like crapload of lawyers on your side, and then Phil goes in and but doing it in public like this, like the last move, Microsoft just coming out here, okay, come on, we signed Nintendo, we signed Steam for Call of Duty 10 years, and if Sony wants to sit with us on the table, like, this kind of publicity, it just hurts Sony.
Yep.
They have made bad moves after bad moves. Their reputation, and I'm not speaking because everyone always thinks Sony doesn't care about us hardcore nerds on Twitter. Like the casual gamers don't even know what's going on with Activision Blizzard and they don't care.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna affect them. Call of Duty will still be available on PlayStation. Maybe the billboard on at the train station is then carrying not the PlayStation but the Xbox logo, but that's it. That's what's literally gonna change for everyone. Yeah. Nothing else is gonna change.
Yeah.
Over the next 5 to 10 years at least. Yeah. So the casuals don't care about that, and Sony is not afraid of losing like mindshare with gamers at all. What I wonder is why they do it with other business partners, like I don't know, Ubisoft, EA, Warner Brothers, Steam. Everyone is watching this shit show in public, and I wonder why they don't care how they look towards the other business partners. It's really not about us hardcore nerds that love to talk about games 24/7, and that's not what they because we all have our opinions anyway. It doesn't matter what they do. Yeah. So that's not what they. But like other businesses, I don't get that. Don't get that. On the other side, they themselves bought. Dutch, help me out. 7, 8 studios this year?
Yeah, about that.
Something
Was it
like that,
7
yeah.
or 8?
7 or 8.
I have to look it up. I have it in my year of the game.
They bought
year.
a mobile company. They bought
Bungie.
Jade Raymond Studio, was it?
They bought a couple of 2 mobile companies, 5 smaller studios. They bought Bungie, and they bought like these online tournament companies.
Yeah, that's correct.
as
Yeah.
well.
Was it Evo?
Evo, that's right. Yeah.
No, that was last year. There
was another one. There was another fight.
I have to go through my notes again. It was like 7 or 8 studios. Like that's what they bought this year. Yeah, like they are on an acquisition spree. They absolutely are.
Yeah.
At the same time, and they have the market lead. Yeah, they will still have the market lead, by the way, in terms of market share after the acquisition. They will still be before
miles
Xbox.
ahead. Yeah, miles ahead.
Yeah. And especially when you look at the console and PC core gaming market that we care about, we're not looking at mobile. Yeah, I think we all agree that's not what it is. So if we don't look at mobile, like again, this deal isn't really affecting us.
At least for a while. At least for a long while.
So for a while.
Yeah.
Sony bought Bungie, Haven Studios.
Studios. I forgot about that. Yeah, from Jade Raymond. Yeah.
Blue Point Games. Did they buy Blue Point Games this year?
Yeah.
No, that was last year.
Last year. They acquired Repeat. Repeat was the esports tournament
that was
platform. Yeah.
Savage Game Studios, which was the mobile developer, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
A couple of other little ones.
So
I think.
yeah, there were like literally tons of acquisitions from Sony this year. So they
Not
are
only that,
expanding.
they put more money into Epic Games. They put a bunch of money into From Software.
Yeah. But they are really expanding on all fronts.
And they're threatened by Microsoft, and they're doing exactly the same, really.
And they are, and I dare say we will get more games out of the acquisitions they did this year than from Sony than they did than we will get from the ABK deal.
Yeah.
And that's the point here. Yeah, they are doing all the things that they criticize on the Xbox side of things themselves. They have been doing it for years.
I was going to say to your
signing
point,
up.
To your point before as well, Boxy, about how it looks to other companies. It's not. I wouldn't even just say to other companies. If for some reason this deal does not go through, do you think Activision Blizzard are going to be playing fair with Sony going forward?
That's
After the way they've literally essentially ruined their plans. So Sony are going, we're just going to scupper the deal that you want because we don't like Xbox. Like,
what if, and I don't think that's an unrealistic scenario.
Yeah.
Microsoft has now signed a deal with Nintendo for 10 years. They have signed with Steam for 10 years. So they are obviously not going to take Call of Duty away from any of these platforms.
Yep.
The regulators
they're
have seen
bringing it
that
to a
now.
platform
They have
that
seen that
hasn't
now.
had it for years.
Yeah, exactly. They're extending the devices they can play on. And now Sony is like playing here like the little child. No, but we are still not talking to you about a 10-year deal. And what if the regulators just gonna approve it because they have seen the real intention of Xbox?
Yep.
And Sony goes out blank.
Yep.
They can actually remove that Call of Duty after 3 years, which is what the current contract will run for.
Gabe Newell's,
And
Gabe
then in
Newell's
like
comments really summed that up for the regulators, I think.
Yeah.
He just said, well,
And
we
it-
didn't need it, but Microsoft offered it. And essentially, the reason we don't need it is because we trust what they've told us, because every time they've said they're going to do something, they do it.
Yeah. So what if in 2026 the exclusivity deal or the deal with Call of Duty runs out and then that's it?
Yeah.
Like I think they publicly hurt their relationship now substantially.
Yeah.
With Xbox and with other
It's
publishers.
not well, it's not just with Xbox or Activision. I mean, take a look at it. They've insulted the entire industry by saying no other company can make a game that can compete with Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You don't
Great
think
point.
other big companies are going to look at that and go, "Okay, dickheads,
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's say you want to play. We'll stop being so friendly with you." And when Microsoft comes to the table to go, "We want to chalk up a Game Pass deal," they might go, "Yeah, okay, let's do it."
So yeah, when we look at Sony this year, again, outside of the games, I don't think they had a particularly great year.
Yeah.
Actually, a very poor year for multiple reasons. Lack of excitement for the future. Everything feels like a ripoff. Super poor communication too. Their fans, their loyal fan base, is very, very poor communication this year. More broken promises, by the way. And on top of all of that, the whole shit show with ABK. I don't think that Sony is in a particularly good state, but given how bad the state for Xbox is, I think they might not need to do better at the moment.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, next
because
year they're
at
going to
the
have
end-
to. They're going to have to do better
Yeah.
next year.
Exactly. And that's what I have the feeling that's why they didn't do a game show this year. Yeah, because they didn't have to.
Yeah.
Because they were like literally competing against nothing.
Yeah.
So save the millions and hundreds of millions of marketing budget, put it in 23, where you actually need it. I have the feeling like 23 is going to be like an emptier year for PlayStation.
Yeah.
I
So
think all
and
they've got
Xbox is
planned for
going.
next year is Spider-Man, and Insomniac have said that's still on track
Yeah.
to come out.
So that's
Fingers
like what I
crossed.
said. Like if it's still on track, let's assume it is.
That's,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
pretty much
we're
all they've
given
got as
that.
far as we know.
But then that's it. Exactly. That's about it. We have the HBO show for The Last of Us coming, stuff like that. But in terms of games, I think 23 is gonna look relatively empty for them. And then
I've got a feeling they might have some sort of Last of Us announcement
The issue that
shortly after
they're
that
relying
Last of Us TV show.
next year, they're relying heavily on two Square Enix exclusivity games, Forspoken, Final Fantasy. They have both of those on exclusivity. Final Fantasy, we can pretty much guarantee at this point that game is never ever as a mainline franchise coming back to Xbox. As long as Sony and PlayStation, Sony have this kind of to and fro. Part of any agreement with Sony that Microsoft need to do is say, listen, there's Call of Duty for 10 years. Stop money hatting these other third-party franchises as exclusivity agreements. Have your little DLCs or your cosmetics or whatever you want for that type of stuff for marketing. Do that, but stop blocking games going to other platforms that aren't yours, aren't ones that you've developed. Like, there's no benefit to any gamer in that sense. Which is why Xbox stopped doing that. They stopped money hatting AAA games from other platforms. Yeah, they still do indies, but that's fine because with indies, they have very limited.
Mostly a 3 to 6 month window, and it's on the other platforms.
Yeah, and with indies, it's another thing is they don't have as much manpower in order to create several versions of the game at the same time, which is why you've seen like that shooter that I keep forgetting the name of it. That shooter game, that toy soldiers kind of game.
Yeah,
They've said,
Hypercharge Unbox.
yes, that's the one.
Hypercharge or something. Yeah.
That's why they've said specifically, like, we're going to bring it out on more platforms, but we've only got so much manpower, so we're going to bring it here first. It's out on Nintendo. It's out on PC. Xbox is next, and then when we finished Xbox, it's going on to PlayStation, because that's how much we can cope with. It's not because of exclusivity, it's just how they're getting it out to each platform, and that's fine. And of course, that's how indies work. They need to have a little bit of freedom to say, right, we'll do it to this one. That'll give us enough time to get this game out, and then we can bring it to another platform, and then we can bring it to another platform, and slowly roll it. But a big AAA company with thousands of staff, or hundreds of staff, have the capabilities to release games everywhere, all at the same time, so stop blocking that. Jem, before I jump into your points as well, we had an awesome super chat from Dave Ramos, who's got a question for all of us. A good one, actually, quite an interesting one. $5 super chat.
Dave
Thank you,
always
Dave.
puts out the great questions.
Yeah, he does. $5 super chat from Dave Ramos, so thank you for that, sir. He said, if you could run PlayStation for one day and could change one thing, what would it be? I'm going to go to Boxy first. Boxy, one day, one thing,
Ooh.
What would you change?
That's a good question. I have to think about this for a second. I mean, what does bother me the most at the moment? Yeah, game prices, or like literally the value I get for my money. That's one thing that bothers me. Would I be able to change that? I'm not sure. So I'm gonna go with transparency. I would put up a killer E3 show, or E3 type of show. Yeah, yeah. I think I would do that.
Yeah, bring back a big killer E3 show.
Exactly.
That's awesome stuff. Mick, if you could run PlayStation for one day and change one thing for the better, what would it be?
Change that controller.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
What's wrong with the controller? The controller is awesome.
It's more the analog stick layout that sucks.
Yeah, okay.
I can't do with that. I'd at least give the option of, two different types.
It's like you reached into my mind and ripped out the joke I was going to come out with.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's probably a few other things, but yeah, no, for me, it's always been, even when I used to do a lot of PlayStation, it was not until I got an Xbox controller and the offset thumbsticks that I thought, this works so much better. How come it's took somebody this long to figure that out?
Yeah.
So, yeah, a bit of controller for me.
Awesome stuff. Jen, controller's
I
gone
was
now.
going to say change the analog sticks for a joke, but my legitimate answer was going to be invest in a fucking first-person shooter game, God damn it. Either bring back Resistance or bring back Killzone and put some goddamn money into it.
Yep. Good shout. You've got Bungie. You've got one of the best first-person shooter developers in the world, if not the best. The godfathers of Halo, which is still to this day seen as one of the best.
Finally have that Halo killer they've always wanted.
Yep. And they can do it.
They could get Bungie, get the assistance of Bungie, get them to go over to Guerrilla and reboot that Killzone franchise with some great gameplay and gunplay. Just make a fucking goddamn first-person shooter game.
Yeah.
Quit your bitching about everyone else's first-person shooter games. We've had enough.
Yeah. And I'm sticking by what I said when it came to the likes of Final Fantasy, etc. Xbox put a stop to it. Nintendo put a stop to it. Stop money hatting AAA studios. That would be the one thing I would stop immediately. I'd say stop wasting millions. This is one way Sony can save money in a drop of a hat. Stop wasting tens of hundreds of millions of pounds getting exclusivity agreements for 6 months or 12 months or 2 years for third-party games that could be invested internally into first-party experiences and just let everybody have these third-party experiences at the same time. We understand if you're helping a company develop or you're providing funding for those, but Microsoft do that, Nintendo do that, but they don't keep those as exclusive games. And that's the difference. Yes, they help them fund it. Yes, they help get it out. Psychonauts themselves said, obviously, thankfully they got purchased, but did Microsoft, after acquisition, prevent them from publishing that game to every console? No. If anything, they said, thanks to the funding for them, it allowed us to add things that we couldn't have done without their support. So yes, provide them that support, but ultimately, all you're going to do, especially if you've invested tens of millions into this for the development of a game, is you're going to recoup more money back because more people are playing that game. So if you've got a percentage of earnings within that game that you've invested, and you've got a clause that says, okay, well, we've given you 10 million towards this game, or we've given you 20 million towards this game, we want 5% of whatever earnings that you get through for this ourselves. Okay, fine, if that's the case, but it's on every platform, which means you're going to get more than you are if it's just on your platform. So stop money hatting AAA third-party titles. Use that money hat money on your own companies. Stop shooting down things because of Metacritic scores. We
They could
shouting
take
out
that
Days Gone
millions
on
of
this one.
dollars that they money hack games with and invest it into their own first-person shooters, or bringing back some of their franchises that are on ice.
Yeah,
Jack and Daxter, Sly Cooper,
yeah, exactly.
Resistance, Infamous, the Infamous series. Bring that back. There's so many games they could be working on if they'd just invest the money into it, but they'd rather money hack games.
Yeah. And they just need to stop it. Really, I think the industry is well beyond that point at the moment. I think PlayStation's stuck in an old cycle from years ago that they don't want to let go of. That's an issue. The rest of the industry's moving on. Nintendo, would you
The
have
rest of
ever
the industry
looked?
is preparing themselves for an all-digital future, which is coming. It's coming.
But would you have, years ago, would you have looked at Nintendo and Xbox agreeing a deal together at all for any game?
No.
Let alone anything else. Nintendo are notoriously difficult to work with at the best of times. If Nintendo can agree a deal with Xbox regarding a game, anybody can.
I mean, it says it all when Phil Spencer has a Nintendo Switch on the shelf of his office.
Yeah. Yeah.
He obviously is a huge fan of Nintendo, and he's probably got a good relationship with them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Before I get into Jen's bads for the year, Boxy, do you have anything additional you want to add to your list of naughty list?
I don't want to add anything to the naughty list, but I want to add something to the list that I would do as Jim Ryan.
Yes.
I would bring a game's day and date to PS Plus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course. Makes sense.
Of course. Makes absolutely sense. So, yeah. That's one thing I'd do.
Yeah. Good shout. Good shout.
Yeah.
Jen,
Agree with that.
your bads for this year for Sony, let it rip.
The biggest bad is obviously the fact that they upped the price of their consoles. Yes, I bitched about it. Yes, I caved in and ended up buying a PlayStation, but it's still, it sucks. It really does. It's kind of ridiculous. We've never, ever seen a console throughout history up their price. A company up the price of their console. Why? It makes no damn sense.
2 years after
And
launch.
the fact that they came out before, not long before, and said that they were already making a profit on those consoles. Now they're making even more of a profit because they've upped the price of the console.
Yep. Yep.
That's my biggest disappointment with Sony. Another disappointment is the fact that they haven't had their show this year. And it's starting to look like the generation might be slower for PlayStation than we expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had some big games come out in the first 2 years, but it seems like that's going to slow down unless they've got some show planned for early next year where they're going to unveil all what's coming in the next God knows how many years of this generation. But it seems like PlayStation are more focused on their next generation, which they keep. There's words that they keep talking about. PlayStation 6 already. Like, why? And they've also said before that this generation for them is going to be shorter in terms of the last generation.
Yeah.
Don't know whether things have changed since the pandemic, but yeah, they just need to show us the future, just like what Microsoft needed to do at their June event, and I was critical of that as much as I enjoyed the show for what it was. I just wish we'd seen more of the future of Xbox, and I want to see more of the future of PlayStation.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Is that's the bads. That's quite a quick bads, but I think we've covered them all together, haven't we?
Yeah, Mick and Boxy have obviously said other things. Like obviously, my biggest bad is that price increase, and just Sony's entire attitude throughout this year as well is another thing. But we've covered that already, so I don't need to speak about that.
That's fair. That's fair. Before we move on to the goods of the year, and then what need to do better next year, Phantos, member for 9 months now, Mix Up Valkyrie, the highest tier of our membership. So thank you again, sir, for that. He said, if I controlled Sony for one day, I'd scrap the console. Oh, he's choosing violence today. I'd scrap the console and concentrate on game development and release on PC, Xbox, and Nintendo, akin to Sega after the Dreamcast. It could happen one day. Fingers crossed.
It could. It could. You never know.
You never know. You never know indeed. For me, personally, the bad things, of course, naturally, we've spoke about the price increases 2 years after release of the console. Only in European and other world territories outside of the US. So outside of North America, everybody else gets a $50 or £50 increase to the cost of the console. 2 years after release, as you mentioned, Jen, they already mentioned they're making a profit on the console, which means that even if they did lose that profit due to distribution,
they could have ate into that.
Yeah,
that already profitable console. They could have took that hit themselves.
Absolutely.
And been okay, but nope, they wanted to push that onto the consumer.
Yeah.
And make more profit, basically.
Yep. Started the trend on the $70 games.
Shareholders.
Yep. Started the trend on the $70 games.
Yep, and now that's obviously gone throughout the entire gaming industry, and now Microsoft are doing the exact same thing, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But I think most of us have just got used to that now.
Yeah. There's quite a few even indie developers have saying that there is absolutely no, and there's an easy way to kind of look at it as well from a perspective of sales. If the game price drops within the first month, 2 month of release from $70 to $40 or $50, whatever it is, then that game price should never have been $70 in the first place. It's as simple as that. If the game is actually worth $70 and you're going to be making money on $70, then the game price will not drop beyond that. We've seen Nintendo do it. Nintendo have stuck to their price throughout the entire... Yes, we don't agree with the way Nintendo go. They never have sales on first-party stuff. If you want to get a cheaper first-party game, you have to go and physically buy that game somewhere that isn't Nintendo. Because digitally, that's never coming down. But they've never increased the price or decreased the price. It's always been a flat price. That's the game price. Pay it, don't pay it. We don't care. That is it. Simple as that. So at least you've got to give Nintendo that. They're the only ones that haven't increased the game price despite what it is. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised the fact that one of their largest, if not the largest first-party game that they've released this year, Pokemon Scarlet, was actually only 40-something pounds. Like, it wasn't even 70 or 50 or 60. It was nothing like that. It was 40-odd pounds. It was like literally a premium indie.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was like a premium indie game price. So, yeah. And I've noticed more of their games doing that, specifically on physical as well. The price has been super low compared to what we're used to now across other platforms. So it's only going to work in Nintendo's favour when both Xbox and PlayStation have got these price increases. Their reluctance this year, despite launching PlayStation Plus, to not do day and date even into their premium level, which is unjustifiable. I think everybody I know is on PS Extra, which is the best category if you're on PS Plus.
Yeah, the top
Yeah,
tier
that's
is
the
like,
middle
what,
tier, right?
the
Yeah.
middle tier, yeah. It is.
Yeah.
You get a good game catalog. You get your online play. You get your free games. Like, the only benefit
Yeah.
of getting premium is game trials. And
To tell you the truth, I don't even know why I've got premium myself. I don't even try all the games. I should just drop that down. I
Yeah.
keep forgetting to.
it's just game trials. I'm like really, if you actually want to entice anybody to look at that, because even the most hardcore Sony fans that I know, decent ones, not fanboys, the ones that, of course, there are awesome panel members that jump on here, even they have extra. They don't have premium because premium's not worth it. So why not make use of that premium category and say, listen, it is $20 a month, but you get first party releases day and date. That would then potentially entice people to go and go, yeah, too right, I'm going to sign up to that because then I'll get God of War, I'll get Spider-Man when it comes out. You're going to get 20, even when I'm waiting 6 months between releases, you're getting $20 every month anyway. And all I'm doing is getting a back catalogue of games that I've released years ago that I probably already own because I'm a PlayStation fan. and then, of course, get these games. So you're only adding to it. It does make financial sense to put it in their big tiers. Like, Microsoft have the ability to put it in every version of Game Pass, but they don't allow you to... you don't get PC games and you don't get cloud gaming if you don't have Ultimate. Simple as that. You either get PC Game Pass or console Game Pass or Ultimate. What was that, sorry?
I said you can probably hear my dog snoring. I'm back on the Yeti now, aren't I? So because the other mic's busted and I've not had a chance to go and replace it yet.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
So, the Yeti is extra sensitive.
But yeah, it makes no sense to me as to why they haven't included that. That's another thing. Their petulance and their pettiness in public has been just baffling and cringy. From a business perspective, you understand why they're doing it. As a boss, Jim Ryan needs to defend his company. He needs to go out and do what he can to protect the business's assets and their finances, etc. And that he'd probably get, if he didn't do that, he would get it in the neck from his superiors for not standing up for the company in public or not standing up for the company. So you can
kind
understand.
Of makes sense considering PlayStation is their biggest selling thing,
Exactly.
and it's really their money maker.
It is.
Their
it's their money maker.
Movie industry for them is sort of taking a turn for worse.
Yeah.
They've released some stinkers. Morbius.
Yeah, it's Morbin time.
That was an awful movie.
But yeah, it's I can respect that from a business perspective, but at the end of the day, from another side of the business perspective, it's only going to harm you in the long run. What doesn't harm you in the immediate. So what might defend you temporarily, what might help you temporarily and protect your finances for a year or so by arguing this in public, could potentially end up damaging you for the next 5 or 10 or 15, because companies will see you in a different way, they'll act around you in a different way, and they'll stop giving you those handouts and those deals and making these stupid little agreements with you because they don't like the way you work, they don't like the way you act.
Sony are also in like a shit ton of debt.
Yeah.
And these are not the moves you should be making when you're in a shit ton of debt.
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to push people away from purchasing your content. I mean, we've got a cost of living issue here in the UK. How many people are actually buying PlayStations because of that?
Yep.
Most people are choosing not to buy consoles.
Absolutely.
They can't afford luxury items like that.
Absolutely. No, I know I can't get a PlayStation 5 anytime soon, that's for sure. That's for damn sure. But hallelujah, because of course one of their things that PlayStation have completely went back on and continue to go back on this year is generations. So, of course we know after their failed initial attempt last year of We Believe in Generations, and going forward, you'll only have PlayStation 5 exclusive games, to which we've had one, and that was Ratchet and Clank. Beyond that, every game going forward, and this is from Sony's themselves, Herman Hulst has said it, going forward, it's going to be cross-gen. They're going to look after kind of everything, essentially, for the
They
sales.
will have cross-gen way into 25.
Yeah.
It makes a lot more sense now when they put the PlayStation 4 back into production for like 1 million more units.
Yeah, absolutely. And over in Japan, the Series S is only $10 more than a PlayStation 4. So
it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
So it's baffling. So yeah, it's the whole generation thing. It means that I don't need to invest still in a PlayStation 5 if I want to play their games, because I know going forward, the ultimate likelihood is that the next Spider-Man will probably be on PlayStation 4. Wolverine may not, because we have the notification very recently that Wolverine is likely to be 2025. So that's a number of years out yet. So that could be next gen or current gen only, but we shall see. But Spider-Man's likely to be cross-gen.
I'll probably need a new PC by that point.
Yeah. And of course, we don't know anything else that they've got in production, because other than that, it's third-party stuff that they've paid for. That isn't developed by them. So there's a number of things that have went wrong.
I'm
for
really
Sony this year.
interested to see what Cory Barlog's team over at Santa Monica are working on. The new IP. I can't wait to see what that is.
You know what I wish as well, because of course they've obviously got a great working ethic in the studios that they own. So you've seen that with Sony Santa Monica. They put out great games, truly great games. You've seen that at Insomniac. They are absolutely flying. Like there's nothing that they've produced that has been bad. Same with Sony Santa Monica. Naughty Dog, despite, of course, our criticisms of some of the stupidity when it comes to the re-releasing of games many times over, the quality of their games are still great. They tell great stories when they want to tell great stories. When they release content, it is brilliant. But stop restricting them to things that they don't want to do. Days Gone developers, for instance, as much as that was kind of for them, they would class as below average, they take critical reviews far too seriously. Use that as a reason.
As far as we know, sort of from talks behind the scenes with Naughty Dog, is they weren't even originally working on the remake. It was a different studio.
Yeah, and it got pulled inside.
Within PlayStation, and it got moved to Naughty Dog. So
yeah,
I don't think Naughty Dog even wanted to work on that.
Yeah,
they were probably highly against it, but you know how it is with Sony right now.
Exactly.
Got their heads up their arse.
Exactly. So there's numerous things, and of course, last but not least, the lack of a conference, the lack of any future pipeline, any future vision for fans to know what the hell is coming up within the next 12, 24 months. We have absolutely no idea. Not a single clue. Like, other than buying a PlayStation for God of War this winter, what reason have you got to have a PlayStation next year so far? There's no guarantee Spider-Man's coming out next year. It's on track, but there's no guarantee. Like, what reason have I got to go out next year and get a PlayStation 5 at the minute? I have literally no reason to upgrade from my PlayStation 4 Pro next year. Still. Because there's nothing.
I've only really got my PlayStation 5 for God of War.
Yeah.
I've got a nice backlog of PlayStation games I can play, but after that, it's just going to be sitting there gathering dust, because that's all I'm really going to use my PlayStation for is the exclusives.
Yep. That's exactly what mine was for. It comes out every now and again. Belt out through an exclusive and then gets turned off. That's it. But again, that's because, and everybody knows, all of us here are primarily Xbox players, so all of our friends and ecosystem and everything like that, all of our large library of games is based on Xbox, which is fine. PlayStation gamers will be saying exactly the same about Xbox and their exclusives, by the way, and that is fine, because we're going to have our favourite place to be initially. But from an outside perspective, from somebody who doesn't have an Xbox or a PlayStation and is looking for a reason to invest in one of these going forward next year, what have you got coming up next year? Without a showcase to highlight what your upcoming games are, what is there to look forward to? Spending another $700 on a VR headset? And spending $70 per game on VR games? I think not. That's a 1,500 quid investment for VR. I'm not doing that. So what else?
Yeah,
Outside of VR,
VR's
what we're
not
doing?
for me. They can get in the bin.
Exactly. So it's major negative, and I think it's just insane. So I'm like, Jen's got a PS5, Boxy's got a PS5, Mick plays PlayStation games on his PC, and I've got a PlayStation 4 Pro. So we've got PlayStations, or we can play
To
PlayStation
answer
games.
Gabe's
Yep.
question there, so you guys don't really have a reason to get a PS5 since you and your friends are Xbox game players. That was mostly my point.
Yeah.
But I typically always buy an Xbox first whenever they release because that's always how it's been. Most of my friends are on Xbox, and I usually get a year or two later the PS console
I'm the same.
of whatever generation
Depending
it
on
is.
how finances
Mainly just for the exclusives. Like,
yeah.
I can't tell you the last PlayStation game that had a multiplayer that I played it for.
That is my issue as well. If there was a great multiplayer game on PlayStation, I'd absolutely be playing it, no doubt. But I've occasionally played GT with Erwin, but that's on rare occasions because Erwin's usually working 9 times out of 10, and if he's not working, he's horizontal on his sofa watching TV. So, and if Erwin's listening to this, even if you're not in chat, I know you can hear us. You know it's right. But yeah,
PlayStation has value
shame.
for me in its single player games. That's really all they've got at the moment. As much as I would love them to invest in multiplayer first person shooter like Killzone again,
and
Resistance.
And we've been one of the main champions. All of us here have said this many times over this year. Bring back Killzone, bring back all of these awesome games, Resistance. Bring them back.
Or better yet, make something new.
Yeah,
make something
new. And it's a good chance, a good opportunity to start afresh.
Yeah.
Come up with something, something big and something new. Make it first party and
I want
to.
We all know that they're working on like 10 different live service games. I'm pretty sure one of them is going to be a first-person shooter. I just hope that they put a decent amount of focus into making a good first-person shooter.
Yeah.
And not something like a Killzone that was rapidly abandoned pretty much after it came out.
Yeah.
Because they don't put a focus in the great gunplay like many other first-person shooter developers do.
Yeah.
It's usually an afterthought.
Yeah. But this is...
And that kind of sucks.
Yeah. For me, it's if I want, and this is it, I want more of it because it's... No one here likes investing in a platform for it to gather dust. We don't want to spend money on something that we play for a little bit and then have to turn off for the rest of the year because there's nothing else that we want to play until the next big thing comes out. I'd much rather have a thing where I'm on an Xbox game, I'm playing that for a bit, and then I've got another thing over here that I want to chip away at because that's a great multiplayer game over on PlayStation. So I'm going to turn that on for a bit today instead, and then I'm going to go over here and play on this one for a bit instead. I'd much rather be able to go between the three because there's lots to play on all three. But Xbox, this is the thing with Xbox and variety. We have, if you want a great an adventure, then you've got Sea of Thieves or Grounded, and that's both multiplayer or single player, and it's a big open world and plenty of adventures can happen. If you want a racing game that's also cooperative, or you can just drive around and have fun, you've got Horizon. If you want a shooter, you've got your Halos, you've still got your Call of Duties, you've got all of them, you've got your Gears of War. All of those have multiplayer and single player elements. If you want action adventure games, you've got multitudes of them. There's literally something for every occasion on Xbox, which is why we do it. Now over on PlayStation, of course, yes, you've still got your Call of Duties. But when you've got a main platform, and this is the same for PlayStation players, as I mentioned,
their first party
first person
shooter is
phenomenal.
lacking. Their third party is fine.
Yeah.
It's just their own stuff.
It's just
and
their own
You
things.
can't always rely on that.
Yeah, and it's just having a little bit more variety, and this is why we say we go back to them once in a while, because if you play Uncharted, followed by God of War, followed by Horizon, followed by Ghost of Tsushima, followed by they're all The Last of Us, they're all there or thereabouts the same type of game. You can, I understand and like I cannot.
Third-person
go-
single-player narrative adventures.
And they're great games. Like they are, all of them are brilliant
I
games
can't
individually,
deny that.
but back to back, you cannot play that many of the same style game back to back.
Before it becomes stale and repetitive.
And that's the thing. And not everybody, and as much as people love superhero, Jen's a massive superhero fan. He loves, Boxy's a big superhero fan. Mick is, but I'm not. So I don't care about Spider-Man. Like,
Well, I love
Spider-Man doesn't bother
Spider-Man,
me. So I'm out with that one. So yeah, it's just I want more of a reason. I want PlayStation first party to diversify, to create other things that aren't narrative adventure games. They've got lots of them. They're all absolutely A+, brilliant games.
I just need
But
to
there's a
branch
lot of
out
them.
a bit.
Yeah, they just need to diversify.
Baby steps. Do one or two
Yeah.
first-person shooter games every now and then, or whatever it is you've got live service in the work. Just do something a little different in your own first-party teams. I'm sure there's a team in there that want to make something first-person.
Yep. Yep. Quick shout out as well before we go into the goods of the year, because we will give Sony some credits. So before we get into the goods of the year, Stuff Sean, 8-month member as a mix-up berserker. He says Xbox One is forward compatible with xCloud. PlayStation need that to cater for the PlayStation 4 fans if they ever go day and date to premium. Otherwise, what's the point? I agree. The one of the best things about xCloud is the fact that it doesn't leave anybody behind, regardless of generations. If you've got to play an old Xbox One VCR, you can play the brand new Hellblade 2 when it comes out via xCloud on your console. It looks good. It plays brilliant. Directly on the console, you wouldn't really know it too much different. It also means that if you can't afford to get a new console, don't worry. You'll not be left behind. All you need is Gamepass and you can play. Simple. PlayStation don't have that. And that's one of the reasons that they are still doing cross-gen going forwards, and one of the reasons Microsoft can ditch the Xbox One generation. Xbox can ditch Xbox One because they're not technically ditching them, because they have a route for Xbox One players to play games before they upgrade, and that's via cloud on their console. PlayStation don't, which means they have to cater to PlayStation 4 because they refuse. Naturally, you don't want to lose 100 million plus players on PlayStation 4 whilst you're transferring them slowly over to PlayStation 5. Those are potential sales after all. They can't afford to cut off PlayStation 4 players because it's too big of a market slice. And they don't have another route for them to play games in between. There is literally no other route. Like, if they literally cut off PlayStation 4 players now, they would have to buy a PlayStation 5 to play those games. They couldn't cloud stream anything. So there is no
Up
other
until
method.
recently, the supply chain has been knackered.
Yeah, and even with the supply chain knackered, both companies are doing record numbers. So it's crazy. But yeah. On to the good things, though. On to the good things. And obviously, we've pointed out the good things this year, thankfully, have been the gaming experiences. Boxy, brother, what are your good points for Sony this year? What are the things that you like that you think could reflect, that Xbox could take notice of and do better as well from? Nice hand in hand.
That's actually very easy. That's consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency in delivering a continuous stream of great games. They are just good at that. Yes, there are better and there are worse years for Sony, no doubt, like for every company. However, they never had a 2022 like Xbox had.
Yeah.
Not once in their entire history have they had such an empty year. They have always been delivering quality games. And you can obviously argue whether some of these games might be for you or not. And obviously, taste is different. And I know some people out there, shout out to Icy Rain, for instance, he's open about, well, I'm not a fan of single-player games. I'm not a fan of first-person over-the-shoulder action type of games. And that's fine. That's totally fine. Not every game has to be for everyone, but you cannot, and that's not an opinion, that's just honestly a fact, argue about Sony not delivering quality games on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Every year, even their worst years, are simply filled with great games that they bring out to the community, and we have to give them credit for that. It's really, really good what they do in terms of games releases. And this year has been a good one. I mean, look at what we played on the Sony side of things. Yeah, we have played Horizon Forbidden West, and I know some people didn't like it, but honestly, it was a fantastic game.
Yeah.
I really thoroughly enjoyed Horizon Forbidden West. Was it better than the first one? Probably not, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be. It was still on its own a great game, a great experience. And that's definitely something Microsoft has to learn from. Microsoft has never been good at exactly that, consistency. So we gotta give them credit. God of War was an amazing game. Like literally, what an experience, right? Such an incredible game. Story, everything. It just hit on every part of the way. It is just an amazing game. So yeah, we have to applaud them for that. The Last of Us remake, you can say what you want about it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of a remaster of the remaster.
Yeah.
Not even close. But I gotta give them credit. Remake, yeah, come on. You know what I mean. But you gotta give them credit. They delivered. They delivered Gran Turismo. Did it hit what we all hoped it would? Nah, probably not. It was still a good game. The people that played it enjoyed it. So yeah, they are good in releasing quality games on a consistent basis. And I have no doubt, I said it earlier, I think 2023 is going to be emptier for Sony. But I don't think that they are going to have like a 2022 situation. Yeah. I mean, even if they don't bring out any first-party games, it would still be like, yeah, they have tons of third-party exclusives coming. Yep. Whether we like that fact or not, but that's where they deliver. They deliver on exclusive content you can only play on PlayStation.
Yeah.
And I gotta give them credit for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's my good about Sony.
That's fair enough. Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
Mick, what about yourself, brother? What's your good points about Sony this year that you'd like to see Xbox take notice of?
It's a tough one for me, this, because not being somebody who uses it that often, apart from the PC games, the biggest thing for me was obviously them bringing the games to the PC.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the main one for me. That's about it, really. I say I don't do much. Don't do much other than that.
Yeah.
It's there's not really much for me to say, unfortunately, on this one.
That's fair.
I'm just glad that they do bring them to PC. It might not be as quick as I like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that, like what Boxy said though, the fact that they do have a very consistent, sort of time frame of bringing stuff out.
Yeah.
That is obviously with this year from Xbox something that they definitely need to work on for Xbox wise. hopefully, I'm not even going to say the whole, just wait another year thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
wait till next
me.
E3.
Makes me sad.
Yeah, I'm so
Yeah.
tired of that.
But
I'm
you
so
know,
tired of that.
they are definitely gonna have a great 23 and a great 24.
Yeah.
The question is yet again with Xbox, will they be able to deliver beyond that on a consistent basis? Will
Yeah.
they be able? They have had in their history, yes, some of the great years where they had like cool games coming out last year. 21 was a fantastic year. They won award after award for having such an amazing year.
Yeah.
However, they were not able to keep up the consistency on that, and that's the problem. That's just the thing. And I wonder if we look at like the development cycles of a new Fable or an Avowed or all these games, they take ages to deliver. Ages. Yeah.
Some might
And-
say too long.
Yeah. So if they bring out, definitely too long. That's not even a question.
Yeah.
And if they bring out a game,
I was
all
being
those
polite.
games in 23 and 24, what will they have for 25, 26? Will the empty years come again? Again, people think, yeah, but they got Activision now. No, they got shit with Activision. It's 1 year, 1 game per year. That's it. That's what Activision is. That's not like that deal will not solve Xbox's biggest problem, and that is the consistent stream of quality games. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see how they will be able to keep that up in let's say the second half of the generation, because they will, over the next couple of years, 2 years or so, everything has to come out at some point. I mean, it's getting ridiculous with 7, sometimes 8 years of development time. But what's then if they take another 8 years to make the Elder Scrolls 6? We are not getting anything for another 8 years. Elder Scrolls 6 is a launch title for the next gen, guys. Yeah. So, and that's what we need to think about. Will Xbox be able to keep up the consistency? And that is something they have yet to prove.
Yeah. Completely agree. Jen, what are your good things about Sony this year? Some things maybe even
Mostly
that
the
might
same
transferable.
as what Boxy and Mick have said. PlayStation have got consistency and planning, and that's something Xbox need to take a look at because they don't have consistency, and it feels like they don't have a roadmap or a plan for any of their upcoming releases. Whether that's going to be a good year next year, we really don't know because we still don't have any concrete release dates on some of those games. Hopefully that changes with Hellblade soon, because how much longer can we wait for that game before they actually announce a release date for it? Same with Fable. It feels like a lifetime ago that they announced that. That's something that PlayStation has quite concrete, and I don't know whether that's going to be the same for PlayStation in up and coming years because they've been very quiet this year. But hopefully that just means they're working on games, and hopefully next year they've got something to show, whether that be early next year or middle of next year. That's something Sony have been good at for a long time. Even in the PS3 generation, they were consistent with announcing games and releasing games.
Yeah.
And they had them all paced out really well. And it's been a slow year this year, but they still far more consistent than Xbox have been.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they're eventually, it's without a doubt, they're going to go day and date on PC at some point, whether it be in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, or even by the end of this generation. It will happen at some point. They've already started to put most of their games, their backlog of games on PC. Started out with games that released 2 or 3 years before they came to PC. But that gap is slowly shrinking.
Yeah. Completely.
It's only going to shrink more as the time moves on and the generation comes to a close. Before you know it, we'll blink and Sony will have made the decision to go, okay, this, for example, the next God of War game if there is an ex God of War game, could be coming to PC day and date for all we know.
Yep. Yep, most definitely. Most definitely. I think for me, specifically with is it Mick is eventually looking at chat.
Yeah. Right.
It reminded me of that Family Guy moment actually in chat where he's like, "Mummy, mummy, mummy, mummy."
Mum,
What?
Mum.
Hi. Yeah, but how was the Hertog Jan, Mick?
It's very nice. Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Thank you very much. The unfortunate thing is I need to go get another one,
Yes.
and it's all the way out there. It's getting up that's the difficult bit. I will have to go and get another one because I'm desperate for a drink.
I don't blame you. Quick shout out to Dave Ramos as well. He says in a $5 super chat, thank you again, sir. PS knows how to develop third-person cinematic games with great, emotional, and rewarding stories and fantastic graphics. Absolutely.
And that's something that Xbox needs to take on hand as well. Yeah, we don't want to see every single game as a 24-hour long or 50-hour long narrative experience game. We just still want to see a little bit more of it on Xbox.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've relied on third party to get that on Xbox recently, including the likes of Plague Tale Requiem. Which
I mean,
has
all
been...
we've got third person narrative driven that's really Xbox exclusive recently has been Gears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Outside of platformer,
the next
only
one will be Hellblade.
Yeah. I would say that, like I say, the first real experience of a third person narrative game on Xbox in an actual AAA space that's felt like a quality title for Xbox players to kind of experience what PlayStation players get has been Plague Tale Requiem. That's the closest they've got to a title on par with Sony's first party action adventure games. Plague Tale Requiem is absolutely on par with that quality. Storytelling,
the only thing about
graphics,
it is it's
gameplay.
third party, and Xbox need to get some of their studios working on first party, narrative driven, great written, great acted, story driven games.
Absolutely. That's the one thing for me that you've got to applaud Sony. The games that they put out are always quality, great stories. Not everything's for everybody. They've got, should we say, a different style of narrative game for everybody. So there's certain people that dislike God of War but love Horizon Forbidden West or Horizon. And then there's other people that dislike Horizon but love God of War. I think everybody kind of likes Uncharted. It's a good game. So
and then
really
you got
go wrong.
Last of Us, which fills the void of that apocalyptic scenario type game, and people love that stuff. They eat that stuff up.
Stealthy kind of atmosphere you've got there. It's a bit different to the murderous rampage you go through as Kratos.
Well, you do go on murderous rampages as Joel and Ellie, so
yeah, in a different method. Yeah.
Yeah, just without the god powers.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, it's go on, Boxy.
That I have to drop out.
Okay, that's fine.
But you guys continue.
Yes.
Keep telling the truth about
Yes.
PlayStation.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I hope you feel better soon, Boxy. I know you're
yeah, thank you, man.
Feeling a bit rough. But
all right,
let the people know where they can find you, brother. Of course. And
very easy. Boxenberger everywhere. So tomorrow, if this cold isn't coming down hard on me, I think we will have the World of Gaming. Otherwise, we will have to move that out. But yeah, it's been fun here as always. We gave PlayStation now also a good roasting.
Yes.
Man, both console owners do not come off well this year, right? If we
fanboys must hate us right now.
Yeah,
they're just sitting there seething,
on both sides. Absolutely. But yeah, chaps, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm having an awful headache, honestly.
I hope you feel better tomorrow, mate.
Thank you.
Definitely.
All right, and I see you hopefully tomorrow, guys.
Yes, fingers crossed.
See ya.
See ya.
See you later.
And then there were 3. But yeah, this nice end. So yeah, from me specifically, I want to see Xbox. And one thing that PlayStation do well, as Boxy said, as Jen said, Consistency is key for Xbox going forwards. This is something that PlayStation always have. And we're talking about consistency of game releases. There is not a year that goes by where Sony isn't releasing at least at bare minimum 2 AAA games a year. Bare minimum. There is not a year that's went past where they haven't done that. 2 top tier experiences that have been in with a shout of Game of the Year every year since God knows how long. And that's the thing that Xbox don't have that they need is consistency. Absolutely.
They both could learn something from each other.
Xbox are like a yo-yo. 2021 brilliant. This year terrible. The going back 2 years prior to that, 2017 was decent. The year before that terrible. Like this, you can't Xbox cannot just go up and then stay at a level. It's always woo all over the place, and they need to sort that out. They can't
when PlayStation changes leadership, they continue by putting someone in that is consistent, and hopefully, when the time comes for Phil to step down and pass the reins on to whoever is his next in line, probably going to be Sarah Bond. Hopefully, by then she would have had the necessary training, and hopefully would have showed her the way to keep Xbox in a consistent pattern of releases. And even under Phil's management, that's slipped a little.
Yeah,
he just needs to be a little bit more hands-on.
I think
Phil's development studios.
I think internally Phil will be, let's say, silently frustrated. I know he is. I know he's frustrated. I know a lot of them are very frustrated on the way things have gone this year. It's obviously as a boss, specifically with what he's done, to get Xbox into the position it is now, since its utter failure of the Xbox One launch going forwards, and the terrible marketing that they had around that, and all the poor messaging, and to get it to where it is now is a great achievement. He's obviously going to be frustrated that he's going to have to say, yeah, I know it's coming, I know you're frustrated. And he's going to have the same thing to the guys internally. He's going to go, guys, there's only so much I can be protecting you. There's only so much I can kind of go out on a limb and do these. We need to have results. It's going to come to that point where he is going to put his foot down and say, lads, lasses,
he's got to. He's got to go to whoever, whether it's him or Matt Booty, someone needs to go to these studios and go, you've got to bring something to the table this year. It needs to happen.
Yep.
We can't keep doing this. Oh, we'll show it when it's ready, because that could be another 2 years away.
Yeah, and the one thing for me specifically is, and one thing we have to say, and this is, I feel like PlayStation's remit is, unless it's Game of the Year, we don't want to hear about it. The game needs to be Game of the Year quality. If it isn't, we don't care. And that seems to be their kind of remit
You're
internally,
muted, Mick.
which is weird. You're muted, by the way, Mick. Muted on StreamYard. There you go.
I was clicking it and it wasn't doing anything. Yeah, now I'd be interested to know what the talk around the table was when Callisto didn't hit as high as it did, knowing they put 150 developers into it, even though it works better.
Yeah,
as we know, on PlayStation. I would love to know. I would love to have been a fly on the wall when those Metacritic scores came in, because
that's the one thing.
There's got to have been a discussion in there somewhere, knowing what they're like with, it didn't hit that top tier 9 or more.
What was ironic about
why
that
did we do this? Why did we spend this money? I bet you that was a conversation that happened. You know,
what was ironic about that entire thing was a few days before that news came out that Sony had given them assistance with however many people it was that were sent over to help them out. You had the PlayStation fanboys coming out in full force saying about it being quality PlayStation game.
Yeah.
But that was ironic, wasn't it? Because
it
didn't get the meta scores you expected it to get. And how quickly those people forget.
The one thing that I am so glad that Xbox don't have a remit on is, yes, they celebrate when games get decent Metacritic score, but I've never once heard of any of the developers at Xbox have anything to do with having critical acclaim as part of their contractual negotiations. It's a case of the one thing I love about Xbox and how they operate with their developers is you create what you want to create. We don't care what kind of game it is. If it's interesting and it's unique, and you want to put this unique idea into play, then go for it. I love that. The one thing I dislike about the way PlayStation create their games is that it comes with a handhold moment where if it's not critical acclaim and it doesn't go in with high critic scores on Metacritic, then we're essentially going to shun you and throw you under a bus publicly, which is what they did with Days Gone. It didn't hit critically, despite the user score being 80 something, almost 90%. It was a really high user score for Days Gone, but a weak
and it sold just as
critic
good as
score.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah. And yet,
but it got critically panned.
Yeah, and yet they got thrown under the bus publicly by Sony, and of course ultimately said, yeah, you can't have a sequel because it didn't critically do well. Not
What
that it
I
didn't
find weird
publicly
about
do
that
well.
is why have they got this Days Gone TV series or movie in the works? It makes no sense.
And the Days Gone devs themselves said, we know, even before it went on PC, it was close to hitting 8 million players. And now obviously we know they can't play them for free, so that means they bought the game. So that isn't a flop by any stretch of the imagination. The development would have definitely been recouped with 8 million sales. So they were fine. So it's strictly down to critical reception. I don't understand why they need to get rid of that remit, personally, for me, at PlayStation. Just let companies make what they want to create. Let them have fun.
Especially if they've got multiple releases throughout a year.
Yeah.
They've got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like, not everything can win Game of the Year, and not everything is going to get critically acclaimed status and be a 90 plus on Metacritic.
And this is the one thing that I want Xbox to be consistent with is I'm not asking for every game that comes out from Xbox AAA to be a critical masterpiece. I don't care if it's a critical masterpiece because ultimately everyone's tastes in the entire world are entirely different. People absolutely loved Pentiment. Like, critically, Pentiment did very well for a very niche game. But when you speak to someone like Boxy, etc., and we all respect his point of views as well, played it for an hour and he's like, "This is not for me." So
I still ain't even installed it. To be honest,
that's the point in games.
I tried it.
Yeah,
I tried it as well, and I love the artwork. I love the way it looks.
Yeah,
you know, I can really appreciate that, and you can see where the animations, it's the artwork that's got. It's a bit like, you know, when Cuphead came out.
Yeah.
And we saw all those old-fashioned 1930s style frame-by-frame drawn animations, and it shows the amount of work that went into it. Really showed, and this is very similar to that in the respect of the art. It's just kind of, you can see how much work went into it, and the way that it all works, and each scene changes and all the rest. But
is it much like that game Procession to Calvary?
No, it's different.
No.
That's the sort of vibe I got from it when I saw it.
No, it's definitely not as whimsical, and it's certainly not as hilarious.
No, it was
that was great.
Was quite what I played. I only played it for about an hour, and it was just like it's kind of a text adventure, and like Boxy said, if I wanted to something like that, I'd read a book. You know, there's not even any voice acting.
Yeah,
you know, it's all just period music in the background with all of that sort of tapestry style writing.
I have to be in a real specific mood to have a game where I want to read something.
Yeah. It's like I said, you can see the work went into it, but like Boxy said, I'm in the same frame of mind. It's not for me. I really am. And you know me, Dutch. I grew up playing Monkey Islands. I was playing Monkey Islands long before it got
and that's
voiced.
a text adventure.
It was a text adventure. You know what I mean? I was playing those sorts of games when that was all there was.
Yeah.
But I feel like I haven't got the time for it anymore. So I'm grateful of the voiceovers and anything else they do nowadays, because it just saves you time.
Yeah.
But it's just not like the fun of. It's not the same fun level
Yeah.
of something like Monkey Islands, where there are comical things happening. It's more of a quite serious story, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's but on the good note though, despite us not enjoying it or not being for us, is the fact that Xbox are willing to let devs essentially make what game that they want to make, despite it being ultra niche or highly popular. They don't care. You make the game you want to make, and it turns out the game releases, critically does very well. They go, well done. Like that was your idea, what you wanted to do. It's come out. They've said specifically, if it wasn't for Game Pass, it wasn't for Xbox, that game would never have been made ever.
No
one would have.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine going into the office and saying, you know, we need? I mean, even if it's only like
20 mil
games, yeah. I was going to say 10. I was going to say 10 doesn't sound like a lot, but you know, it is when it comes to game development. You try walking into someone and trying persuading them to give you 20 million, like you say, to make a game like that.
Yeah.
This is why we get so many games that are similar, is because people who have got the money that are investing it are saying, I think it would be better if you did this.
Yeah.
You know, have you thought about changing it and making it more like Fortnite? You know, it's kind of they see the money coming into those games, and it's very difficult for them to sort of agree to go, yeah, sure, take some money and maybe we'll lose it.
Yeah.
It's much more likely for them to say, you can have the money, but we want this.
Yeah.
You know, so
exactly.
And that's definitely, if it wasn't for Game Pass, it wouldn't have happened, and I totally believe that.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I do like I say, that's the one thing I want. I want Xbox to be consistent, but I want them to continue their consistency with the same mindset that they have now for developers. You create what you want to create.
Heard Todd Howard say it about Game Pass, about it allows something like Game Pass allows them to try something they wouldn't otherwise do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because it's given them flexibility. And devs love flexibility in terms of their ideas. If they can just be wild with their ideas, because there's no loss. They're going to get the players because it's on Game Pass. So they're going to have people playing the game, which is ultimately what they want.
They can make something along the lines of like recently Evil West came out, about a 10-hour long game. They could put something out there like that and go even bigger in the sequel afterwards, because people have gone, oh, we loved that, or they go, oh, no, we didn't like that, and then that doesn't happen.
Yeah,
it allows room for trial and error.
Yeah. So ultimately, the kind of takeaways that I want for PlayStation move forward into 2023 and beyond is PlayStation as a company to stop putting such a heavy reliance on critic scores into how you perceive your game is doing, or how good that game is. Critics' opinions ultimately on the consumer level matter very little, because as you can see, the consumer scores are always wildly different to what the critics think. You tend to find some of the more critically acclaimed games have the worst user scores, and some of the lowest critically acclaimed games or lowest critically reviewed games are some of the highest user scores. So it matters not. Like, Sony need to look more at what are the users thinking about this. Did the users absolutely loved it. Yeah, it got a 76 on Metacritic, but who cares, because the users have it around as 9.1. Like, you know what I mean? If the user score is through the roof, which is ultimately the money maker, the people who are buying the product, that's the one you need to cater to. Not the critic that's reviewing the game for free, that isn't spending any money on you, and you're giving them the game to review. They're not the ones that you need to be bothered about when it comes to making monetary decisions on how you produce your next game. This is how Xbox work. Is your game critically achieved? Does your game hit massive critic scores? Brilliant. We'll shout it from the rooftops. Well done. Is it essential for your game to be made? No. Make whatever the hell you like. We don't care. You want to have a 12-man team make Grounded? Go for it. You want to have a 10-man team make Pentiment? Go for it. You want to you want to make these silly little games that you put on you make whatever you want to make. We'll go to Psychonauts 2. You can't make these. Why can't you make these bosses? Oh well, we don't have the funding, etc. Okay, well here's the funding. You put whatever content you were going to cut out. You put that back in the game. You make the game you want to make. That's the kind of mentality you need to have. So Xbox need the consistency of PlayStation, but retain the mentality they've got now with regards to freedom of development for the studios in terms of their creativity. Not in terms of how lax they can get with the time frames.
That's one of the reasons why I've grown to dislike award shows like the Game Awards, because Sony have become so focused with chasing that Game of the Year award worthy title.
Yeah.
And everything has to be this big blockbuster 24-hour length campaign, even longer. And that becomes tiring. I'm sure it becomes tiring for the devs. I mean, I put a tweet out the other day. I said, if you need a game award to have validation that you made a great game, then sorry, I think you are a shallow individual.
Yeah.
Making a game that's praised by thousands or even millions of gamers should be all the validation you need to know you nailed making a great game.
Yep. Correct.
Why do award shows have to like come along and ruin that? We get it in the movie industry as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a reason why there's a lot of developers love being indie. And the reason that by that I mean indie size as well. There's a reason there's a lot of them love that is because they don't want to lose sight and lose focus on some of the things that they can do in terms of creativity. And sometimes if the studio gets far too big and you've got far too many people involved in the cycle of creating the game, you can lose the creative path, you can lose some of the creativity because there's far too many ideas, not enough time to implement them all, and then it gets lost in translation and the creativity just dies and you have to rein that in, which is why a lot of developers say, we want to stay in. Kojima, perfect example. Yes, he's got a relatively decent studio now, 100 and odd people, maybe 200 people tops, but he doesn't want to be bigger than that. That's kind of his perfect size, and he knows this, he's got his refined team can create these really wild creative experiences. Yes, they're not for everybody. Not everybody's going to love a Kojima game, but you cannot knock the fact that he's extremely creative. Like his games are
he pushes
wildly different.
The industry as well, and he takes risks.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to go and do something as wacky as Death Stranding, even if half the people ain't going to give a shit about it after they've tried it out.
Exactly.
I'm one of those people that don't give a shit about Death Stranding, but at least that man tried something new.
Yep. And that's exactly what.
A bit like Double Fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Double Fine. Tim Schafer was adamant that they were going to stay as a indie team.
Yep.
And if it wasn't for some of the other teams that were already signed up with Microsoft saying it's as good as it sounds.
Yep.
You can still do whatever you were doing. You can still make whatever you make.
You've just got your security.
Except you haven't got to put a quid in the meter every 5 minutes.
Yep.
And worry about it and where that money's going to come from.
Yep.
Keeps the lights on. Microsoft just pay the bills. You just crack on with what you're doing.
So that's a good case in point for a studio that doesn't need a person breathing down their neck.
Yeah.
But there's other studios within Xbox that need someone breathing down their neck.
Yeah, it's the creative vision of the likes of Tim Schafer, as you've mentioned, that are phenomenal. I would hazard a bet as well that the guys at High on Life have obviously definitely been given a bit of support from Xbox, and certainly in terms of marketing from Greenberg, definitely pushing High on Life. But they've mentioned it themselves. It's our first game. We're going to do what we love to do, which is create this wacky universe based on the stuff that we've created. We hope you enjoy it. We're a triple indie, and we're going to kind of stay like that. And good.
And that's out. That's out next Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Is that when it is?
What I want
so.
So ultimately,
on the list today saying it was like coming soon. So I
7 days.
Actually,
7 days today.
It was actually at the front of the list. So I thought.
And if you haven't installed it yet, you can pre-install it. So,
yeah.
So if you're looking forward to that, go and do so. Get that pre-installed.
So ultimately for me, my takeaways for PlayStation moving forward is continue with the consistency, drop the requirement for Metacritic being one of the provisios of how you measure success. Drop that.
Yeah.
let your teams be creative. Stop dictating what they should be working on. If one of your teams comes to you with an idea and they want to put that idea into action, what have you got to lose? The good chance is one of these wacky ideas sticks and people absolutely love it. And then what?
Yeah.
Then you've got a new hit on your hand. Or you can be ultra cautious and say, absolutely not, no. What you're going to do instead is create this remake. What?
Yeah.
That's stifling creativity. Stop stifling creativity. Let them create new things. Please.
Yeah.
Please. That's my takeaway for
please.
next year anyway. Jen, what would you like Sony to do to improve next year?
Drop the whole, we need to release a game of the year contender in game. Just drop that. You don't need to do that. You can have one, but let your studios do something different for once.
Yeah, and you never know, that something different could be game of the year. This is the beauty of it.
Exactly.
It could
exactly.
It could be amazing.
Exactly. I miss the days when something seemingly brand new would come out and we go, holy shit, that was great. And it would win a Game of the Year award because it deserved to win a Game of the Year award because of it was innovative and fresh.
Yep.
There's part of me that doesn't want God of War to win Game of the Year, but I know full well it's going to win Game of the Year.
After playing it.
Yeah. But like for the awards purpose, I'd rather it go to someone else that deserves the game. Yeah, people laugh at Stray, but at least that tried something different.
Yeah.
At least that didn't stick to safe. Let's do the safe bet. They said try to do a game. They made a game where you play as a bloody cat. What other studio has done that?
Yeah. Yeah.
At least it was different and fresh. But you get people all over Twitter take a huge dump on that game, saying it shouldn't be there as a Game of the Year award.
Yeah, it's mad.
I think, in my personal opinion, any good game deserves to be there. Doesn't matter what it is. It's why I hate Game Awards shows, because it's disrespectful to the hundreds
everybody.
of games that come
Yeah.
out on a yearly basis that are so worthy of that title. But unfortunately, not every one of them can win it, and it'll go to something big like God of War or Elden Ring.
I mean, everyone could win it. They could just put them as games of the year.
Why can't they do a category like that? Games of the Year.
Yeah.
But
These
instead,
are our top.
nope,
These are the
it's got
top.
to be one. It's got to be one game, and the committee of fart sniffers have got to breathe those fumes in, and
Yeah.
that makes me fucking frustrated.
These are the games of the year based on user scores. These are the top games that users have absolutely loved this year. Congratulations to this.
I suppose technically the different categories defines that. So you got racing, you've got puzzle, you've got platform, you've got those winning.
Do
those
away with that.
sections.
Do away with Game of the Year, and do the categories: Racing Game of the Year, Puzzle Game of the Year, First Person Shooter Game of the Year, Third Person Shooter Game of the Year, Third Person Narrative of the Year. Just do something
But
different.
they used to do
I'm
that
sick of
years
this
ago.
Yeah, but
isolating one game.
I was gonna
that
say,
deserves
ultimately-
the award, and there's thousands.
yeah, ultimately
Certainly
in the game of the,
in old Amiga magazines and Commodore and everything, they used to have like an award ceremony, like all printed paper, printed magazines, and they used to have categories like that in those magazines that won first person shooter of the, well, maybe not first person, but like puzzle game of the year and adventure game of the year and everything, and that was what they used to do all the time. So I don't know why it's changed. I haven't even noticed until I've just thought about it now. That they've sort of narrowed it down to just a couple of random.
But how
Yeah.
many hardcore gamers, well, even casual gamers, give a shit about Game of the Year awards? Honestly,
like ultimately, ultimately the game of the year, ultimately, is the one that has the highest consistent game. Like, if we're going to base it on games that only released in a certain year, so if you're saying 2022. The game of the year, ultimately, isn't a score that's been given by a reviewer. It is the game that has the consistent amount of players that have played that game throughout the year with the highest amount of reviews by actual users, or highest feedback, positive feedback by users, by consumers. So, for instance, okay, so the ultimate game of the games of the year by the consumers, for instance, as an example, God of War, which had 20 million players in this year, and it was overwhelmingly kind of adored throughout the consumers. The next up was Sea of Thieves, which has maintained its awesome standing and it has hit 20 million players this year. That goes.
Don't even get me started on why Sea of Thieves isn't in the Game of the Awards for
continued service. I know live. I have no idea. As a live service game, it keeps getting shunned every year.
Every year, and the games that are in there, some of them are
shite.
Awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does. It's ultimately the Game of the Year award. The Games of the Year award shouldn't be by critics. It should be always by the consumer. Personally, the consumers are the one that spend the money. They should be the one voting for it. No matter how wild that list might be, you put all of the games in that released that year. You say, there's all of the games. You vote for your favourite game of this year, consumer.
Nominate your games of the year. That's what it should be. Not a committee of
That's what I'm saying,
arseholes
Just
in a room that go, these 5 games. These 5 games are the ones where they smell their own farts.
Exactly. Just list. Just list. Literally say these are all the AAA releases in 2022. These are all the indie releases of 2022. These are all X releases of 2022. Like, literally all you have to do is select the option and click vote. So what do you think is your game of the year this year? That released in 2022. Select it, vote. Boop. Consumer. Done. Whoever wins that poll based on consumers is the overall game of the year voted for by the consumer. Personally, that is the only fair way to do that. That is the only transparent way to do that, because it doesn't involve a committee of people we have no idea have even played the game. And by all accounts, people that used to be on that panel have said 50% of them haven't even played the game, let alone finished the games that have been in those Game of the Year categories. So that is the only fair way of doing it. I mean, and then you can take no onus as an organizer. You say, listen, you chose the Game of the Year. This had nothing to do with the options were what released this year. You as consumers voted for that game. That is the Game of the Year, voted by the consumers. Well done.
But Steam do something like they have their Steam Game of the Year sort of themed awards, and you choose your own game basically to nominate.
Yep.
Why can't they do that? Why can't they do that going forward with the Game Awards? Honestly, who really tunes into the Game Awards show for the awards?
Yep.
Don't even plan on tuning in for anything, really. It's just
I'm only there for the game trailers, and I'm pretty
Jedi
sure
Survivor, boys. Jedi Survivor tomorrow.
90+% of people are only watching that for the trailers. I think Jeff should do away with the whole awards section and do a Winter Games Fest like he has his Summer Games Fest. Fuck off with the awards, because none of us really give a shit about it.
Winterfest. Yeah, let's do Winterfest.
Why can't he do that? I mentioned that in one of our DMs the other day. Why can't he do a Winterfest, a Winter Games Fest?
This is where Jen goes all in on shouting, swearing about the Game Awards, and then Dutch says, "And our special guest for our 100th show is Jeff Keighley."
Next week, fuck you, Jeff. I'll tell him where it is. I say, Jeff, look, you got to sort it out, mate. This is shit. Stop being a dickhead.
Oh, dear me. Dear me. But yeah, Mick, on that
They
note,
need to sort the deadline out for that as well. It should be from the first day of the year to the last day of the year. And the award show should be hosted
till Christmas
in
Day,
January.
because nothing releases after Christmas Day. First day until Christmas Day.
The award show should be hosted in January or February, but you only take notice of the games that came out, obviously, the year of 2022. And then the deadline for the next Game of the Awards starts from the 1st of January to the last day of the year.
Yep. Gabe, good point. Does it really matter who wins Game of the Year? Absolutely not. Not to me. Not to anybody else.
No.
It's more.
Not to
it's
most
more,
of us.
Yeah. It's all bragging rights to put on the box of, on covers of adverts and stuff.
I was going to say, critically, critically means absolutely nothing. If you actual developers, they are more concerned about what the consumers think, which is why I say Consumer Games of the Year awards, so ones voted only by the public, mean more to developers than any critical award ever. Because as long as, like, if you have a look at Metal Hellsinger, the one thing they were posting every day, more than any award that they won, and they won awards, they won many awards. The one thing they posted most proudly across all of their accounts was, look at our user review scores. Keep looking at these Steam user review scores. They keep going up. Like, they were so happy to see people just loving the game. That was something they were most proud of. So that's why I say consumer awards voted for by the consumer mean more than anything to developers, because that's when they know the people that they've created the game for have thoroughly enjoyed the game. Critics, that makes absolutely no difference. Critics is for the big bosses, for the shareholders, for the head honchos to shout and brag. The actual developers care about the users. Simple as that.
For the committee of fart sniffers that get off their chair and sniff their chair after they've got off their chair.
on that note,
You have to stop saying that,
Fart
because every
sniffers.
time you start.
It's true though.
Oh dear me. It's like a Ministry of Funny Walks. He's got the committee of fart sniffers.
They are. They're a huge committee of dickhead fart sniffers.
Oh, man.
Oh, best
They're
friends with the Ministry of
mustache
Silly Walks.
twirling idiots. They are.
Mick, yes, how would you like? What would you think Sony could do to improve next year? Anyway, before we round up this show.
Did I mention they need to change the control? No. No. I think one of the this is not something personally, because obviously I don't have a PlayStation. I just buy the games from Steam, but I know a lot of them have said that there's been some sort of what's the word now? It's to do with the output. I know that they've had issues with different sort of resolutions and stuff. It may have been fixed actually by now, but I know for the longest time they didn't even have 1440p output. But there are lots of other smaller things that we've got on Xbox. It's difficult, this one, because like I said, I haven't got one, but this is just some of the stuff I've seen that people have said, I can't believe I've done without this all this time. And they've just bought an Xbox and gone, this is fairly simple stuff. It's just lots of, little sort of features that we take for granted on the Xbox, and that they don't seem to have on PlayStation. So maybe there's some stuff in there, but like I said, for me, not having one, there's not much more they could do, because it doesn't affect me in the slightest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Unfortunately, so I haven't got a lot to say on that one. Unfortunately, I'm afraid.
That's all right. That's fine. We're gonna have a lot more fun next week, though, Mick. Don't you worry. Episode 100. King David is joining us as special guest, so we're gonna have some great fun.
He's always got a funny story to tell, King
He
David.
always
So I'm
has.
excited for that.
And no doubt you'll have more. But yeah, of course, next week we will be celebrating the 100th episode of Midweek Mix Up. It's been a wild, over 2 years now, doing the podcast with awesome panel and friends that I've come to know over the years. We've got a lot of awesome stories to kind of talk about. What we're going to do is we're going to have a good reminisce about some of our best moments or fun moments, great times in the past of the podcast. Some kind of the key moments that we pick up on things that we've spoke about, or some of the key topics or shows that we've done. Of course, a look to the future and where we're going to go. But also discussing what happened at the Game Awards, or almost anticipated for 2023. And of course, having a laugh with King David from the Iron Lords, and maybe one or two other special guests. But we should have a full panel next week. We'll have the full lot back, so it'll be myself, of course, the General C, Xbox Mick, Boxenberger, Patcher, Hertog Vin, Forza Irwin is coming back as well for a one-time appearance, making sure he's got time for it. So he's jumping back in there. Hopefully, Chambalon joins us as well. So we'll have the full gang back. And of course, King David. Maybe one or two more special guests, but we're gonna have some fun. And of course, in the midst of all that, we'll be doing a week-long charity drive. So it's there's a lot coming next week. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be content from myself, Mick, Jen, Vin, Perrin Pluck, Patcher, you name it. Everyone's getting involved. Stuff Sean's getting involved. All of our streamers, anybody that's involved in the collective, are getting involved to do streaming for certain charities. So anyone's British-based, essentially, are doing it for Special Effect, which is an awesome charity. Our Europeans are doing it, of course, and I'll put that actually on screen whilst I'm remembering, for Villa Yorp, which is obviously neuroblastoma in children. So raising for that. We've got some grand totals to achieve, but hopefully with the help of the community, we can smash through those totals. So targets for Special Effect is 1,500. And target for Villa Yorp is 700. So fingers crossed we can achieve that over the week. We managed to smash through over 1,224 hours last year. Me and Jen and the community who joined in to play games or have fun. So it was absolutely awesome.
That's such a great thing to be a part of.
Yeah,
I loved that. It was such a good time.
and it's going to
Playing
be
all those games with all those different characters.
Yeah.
was hilarious.
Oh, absolutely. And it's going to be just as fun this time. So the good thing about this is, of course, obviously not only do we have all these awesome guys streaming for you all week long, and doing different streams and raising for the charities, but of course, as last year, we finish on that grand 24-hour straight live stream with me and Jen playing games non-stop. Over a 24-hour period, and anybody's willing to join us for the full 24 hours if they've got the the energy to do so. Feel free. It was an absolute blast last year. The good thing about it personally for me is the fact that we played so many games over a 24-hour period, and it covered so many different time zones, as we could actually accommodate loads of different people to come in and join us. Which means that nobody misses out if they want to come and join us on stream and help kind of push along the 24 hours and kind of help us that way, or even just get involved. You're all on the 24-hour one specifically. Everyone's involved, kind of welcome to join in and jump in and help us get through it. It's a good shout. Barely making rent. Yeah, there's a good chance we can chuck in some Halo there, and we haven't played it for months, so why not have a few custom games and have some fun with the community? Get a good group together and have a couple of rounds there. Last year we put a little schedule.
I'm gonna have to reinstall Halo after all.
Oh, same. Last year we put out a little schedule together, so we kind of come up with a few games that we're going to play. Some with the community, some that me and Jen can just play and kind of go through like a good story we can have fun with. Last time it was It Takes Two, which was phenomenal. Had some great fun of that, especially at the later hours where we were getting near the end and couldn't think straight and trying to complete puzzles when you have no brain.
Figure things out.
Yeah, we were like, I can't.
Where does this
anymore.
go? Brain not working.
No, I can't even speak. Yeah, it was such a good laugh, and I can't wait for everybody to be involved and just have fun. And to just go through it all over again. It was one of the best things that I think I've done in all of my time podcasting and streaming. It's so rewarding at the end of it, especially when we smashed through that goal. It was awesome. So definitely can't wait for it again this year. Can't wait to see everybody getting involved in it again this year as well. Like I say, everybody's welcome. If you see any of the lads streaming or you're playing any awesome multiplayer games streaming throughout the week and you want to get involved in their charity streams, just hit them up, let them know. No doubt they'll be willing to accommodate you and get you involved in it as well and have some fun. But yes, we'll over the weekend, you'll and up and to and over the weekend, You'll notice I'll start putting the kind of schedules up on YouTube as well. So you'll see a lot of them pop up, intersync with the Save Tuesdays and the podcast. You'll see other stream schedules go up there from different streamers. So when they're going live, I'll be restreaming their streams from Twitch or wherever else they're streaming onto the main channel as well. So you'll be able to interact with them. So, of course, might be a bit of a ball ache for the streamers to have 2 chats up and going. But know that they'll be there, and that, of course, they'll be supported on 2 fronts.
I'm sure you'll have the list of games that we'll
Yeah.
pick up available as well on there. So
Yes.
it gives people a heads up on what we're playing so they can get it installed if they want to join us.
Most definitely. So it's going to be an awesome week, that's for sure. First time we're doing a charity drive. Hopefully it's successful. If it is, we'll continue to do another charity drive again next year. But we're definitely going to continue to do charity events every year, regardless of whether it's a drive or whether it's just a 24-hour stream or a 48-hour stream, whatever we choose to do to batter through the results. We're gonna do it. It's one of the best things we can do to give back. In the medium we know we can. So yes. Hope you all join us for that. But keep an eye out on the channel. The postings will be going up soon with all the links for the different streams and things that are going on. But yes, we'll get to our outros now. It's been an awesome stream as always. Great show from Boxy, Mick, Jen. Pleasure to have you guys on the panel as always. But
Always good to be a part of it.
we'll get to our outros. First of all, Jen, let people know where they can find you. I know, much like myself, you finished your God of War story stream now, so that's done, and on to the next.
That's all available on the channel if anyone wants to go back and watch that. Love that game, so good. I'll be getting back to that right after this, chipping away at the 100%. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube streaming. My stream schedule is going to change. Fridays and Saturdays is when I'll be streaming from now on.
Yeah.
Going to take a little bit of a break this week though after God of War and all that, and then back to it obviously next week for the charity.
Yes, and that's why Pat wasn't here this evening, by the way, chaps. He's actually getting a lot of things set up for his streaming next week. Of course, he's essentially in charge of the charity for Villa Yorp, so he's going to be kind of doing a lot of the things, setting that up, getting ready, choosing his games, choosing his streaming patterns, etc. for next week. So he's getting that set up. So yeah, he's going to be back next week, of course, for the podcast. But yeah, awesome stuff.
And we're back tomorrow for the
Keeley show.
Technically Friday.
Yeah.
Because it's like
yeah. So yeah,
midnight.
Is
it midnight? It starts. Yeah. So we're back then. I don't know who's joining us. Do we know?
Whoever wants, whoever can be bothered. But yeah.
I think Stuff Sean said he's going to be watching it, right? So
yeah, if Stuff Sean wants to jump in on the podcast, cool, right? on the reaction, he's feel free.
Yeah, with a 5 a.m. start, I won't be joining you.
Absolutely not. Yeah, sweet. Fanto, you're more than welcome to join our live reaction and be on the panel if you want tomorrow. That's absolutely no problem. Feel free. Marion included.
Yeah, we can all take the piss out of the awards
together
and enjoy the trailers.
I'll be watching it.
I'll
be watching it on the replay in the morning in the van. So
yeah, most definitely. But yes, so Jen, where can people find you as always?
Yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel, the General C, and on Twitter, the _General_C. That's where I usually am.
Awesome stuff. Right. Awesome stuff. Mick, last but not least, where can people find you, brother? What you got coming up? Maybe it's a little bit of gaming since you haven't had a chance.
Yeah, I'm working my way through Halo with Chris at the moment on the co-op, so we're enjoying that. Especially when you've got the bandana skull on, it makes things way more fun.
Yes.
Just run through with infinite ammo and just blow everything up.
You still get the achievements if you got that skull on.
Not sure. Don't care.
Legendary difficulty, bandana skull on.
Yeah. I'm not sure. To be honest, I've got most of the achievements anyway, or certainly for the campaign.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Chris is getting any, but we're enjoying it anyway, regardless.
Yeah. I did see him in chat earlier saying, "Can I steal Mick to play Halo?" So
My response was no.
So we're playing that. Obviously, Sea of Thieves. We've got Sea of Tuesdays. Sorry about last week again. We'll be back next week, obviously, during the charity stream. So
yes.
looking forward to that. And yeah, I got Sundays, obviously, with Sightless Combat. So I think we are playing Minecraft Dungeons on the new tower. They've added multiplayer into there's like a horde mode tower thing. It's like 30 levels or 25 levels or something like that. We got so close last time and we ran out of time. Once we'd figured out how to do it, we took a few attempts and failed. And we got really close and then we ran out of time. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to do that this week. So that should be good. So yeah, that's on Sundays at
Nice.
3 till 5. And yeah, if you're looking to find me anywhere, I'll be on Twitter, Xbox Mick 29, same on YouTube and Hive and everywhere else, and just Mick 29 on Xbox. If anybody wants to add me there, feel free.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And once more, thanks to everybody for the super chats, for the channel memberships and everything. It's all awesome. Thank you very much for your support. It does mean the world. It just means we can keep creating awesome content and, of course, providing back to yourselves as good content as we possibly can and keep improving the channel and bringing you more awesome stuff. So we couldn't do it without yourselves. So thank you for the support as always. Again, you can find me absolutely everywhere at WandrinDutch as usual. Later on this evening for the primetime gaming, pull myself together, see if I can get through at least most of that with Boom, Boom and friends. You can find me tomorrow potentially on the World of Gaming if Boxy's okay. If not, later on tomorrow night anyway, we'll be covering the Game Awards show. So we'll be live streaming a reaction for that. So I can't wait to be demonetized on that video afterwards. So
The Fart Sniffer Awards.
Yeah, the Fart Sniffer Awards. Absolutely. And then on Sunday, I'm actually on Fleety Snake and Hertog Vin's podcast, which they're doing, of course, which highlights creators. So it'll be a pleasure to jump on a new podcast for a change and discuss with them. So that's going to be awesome. So we'll be over on Fleety Snake's YouTube and Twitch channel. So you can find me there. And then, of course, that'll be kickstarting the awesome charity week, where we'll be streaming pretty much non-stop all week. Lots of content for everybody to enjoy. Lots of different games. Lots of different creators. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. And, of course, celebrate our huge 100th episode, which is a massive deal for all of us here. So it'll be awesome if you all join us for that. Celebrate that big 100 number. Doesn't come around too often. Takes a lot to get there. And for any podcast, regardless of what they're podcasting, to get 100 episodes in and still be doing it, you've got to be enjoying it. And we still are, thankfully. So thank you to the support, because, of course, we wouldn't be at 100 if it wasn't for the support we have. But for this evening, ladies, gents, and everybody watching, thank you again for the support. Have an awesome evening. Enjoy your gaming, and we will see you all again shortly. Goodbye.
Take care, everyone.